All right, everybody. It's time for another episode of the Late Night Boxing Talks. I'm going to let the list populate. A couple of things on my mind. Didn't necessarily want to do an episode of the relay. I just wanted to kind of freestyle it. I was in a couple of spaces earlier on Twitter. Those are always fun. You get different takes from different people, though it does get a little bit loud. I was goody. Answer number 2. One channel claimed Tank got 20 million signing bonus for re-signing. Yeah, these guys, I don't even know, dog. Like, I don't even know. Leo was good. Johnny was good. JumpTube was good. And yeah, man, I had a couple of conversations on the spaces on Twitter. Shout out to Lady Chan, always a pleasure. Gorgeous woman. KC Boxing was good. Ronan was good. Lance was good. The Filipino was good. Yanni Beck Alim Kanuli. Ya tu sabe. And yeah, man, a couple of things I wanted to talk about. The Gervonta Davis fight was one of them. I want to get a couple of people's thoughts on it. Before I open up the chat to the panel, what I'll say is, look, my thoughts, and this is more or less what I said in the spaces earlier, if you happen to catch them. If you didn't, my thoughts, they need to let just Tank be what he is. He's an attraction to some degree. He is. He could put asses in the seats without high-profile opponents. Then let him be that. Let him be a draw. Let him be in the bubble that he's in, where he doesn't need a Lomachenko or a Haney or a Campbell. Let him be in that bubble, There's nothing to debate there, in other words, because in order to be thought of as a pound-for-pound fighter, or in order to be thought of as really one of the best in the world, there's a set criteria when it comes to that. And unfortunately, no, he doesn't meet it, not doing what he's doing. Now, if you like him, you can still like him. If you watch him, you can still watch him. If you're entertained, be entertained. But for God's sake, just let him be what he is, He's not that guy who's looking to be an undisputed champion or a unified champion. That's why he's 27 and hasn't done it yet. There's never been any shortage of champions to fight and any shortage of fights to make between 130 and 140 pounds. There's never been any shortage of guys that had belts at those weights. When your promoter belittles and berates a Josh Taylor, an accomplished fighter, an undisputed champion, and who he decides to put you in there with is a Rolly Romero, it's obviously not legacy that you're shooting for. And if you don't care about legacy, well, hell, you don't have to. It's your money, it's your bank account. But let him be who he is. Stop arguing with people that he'd do this or he'd do that. Or none of those fights that you're talking about are going to happen, because none of those fights are happening. And they didn't happen before that. So just let the guy be what he is. If you like the guy, watch the fucking guy. Just don't try to beat me over the head and tell me that he's fighting the best fighters that are out there. That's really all there is to it, because he's not. Rolly's not one of the best guys that are out there. You knock a guy like that out, it doesn't mean a lot. It doesn't. And if 18,000 people were entertained, awesome. Let them be entertained. But don't try to act like that's Lomachenko that he did that to, or Devin Haney, or George Kambosos, or Teofimo Lopez, or Tevin Farmer before him, right? And that's all there really is to that. PBC fans, Tank versus Russell Jr. is the modern day Khan versus Brook, except Russell is Khan and Brook's generation. PBC fans lusting over Tank fighting an old 120. Yeah, I mean, they have a small pool of options to draw from. Gary Russell's one of the possibilities, because he has always said that he wants a Gervonta Davis fight. He has always said that. He'd have to jump up 2 weight classes to get it at this point, but he has always said he wanted that fight. The potential opponent options for Gervonta Davis, it's a very shallow pool. It's a tepid pool. It's Gary Russell, Isaac Cruz rematch, Rolly Romero rematch, in some order, but that's what he's got to draw from. So the matchmaking isn't going to be ambitious. And I maintain that, look, they could do what they want with the kid's career, but he won't start getting my money until he fights certain people. Spence got my money for the Porter fight and the Ugas fight. Jermel Charlo, he got my money for the Rosario fight. I bought the last 2 Wilder fights with Fury. I bought those, So it's not like I don't spend money on pay-per-views. Yeah, I do. But for the matchmaking that we're seeing with Tank, no, I'm not going to pay to see that. I'm not a fucking lunatic. I don't want to see that. hold up, talking to the homie. Think I did, and I forgot because I'm old. But yeah, it's simple as I was goody big boy, was goody Ronan, Gary King Frog, and we're gonna talk about some Devin Haney and George Kambosos. We're gonna talk about who else? I got a lot of text messages. There's a lot of things going on today. But yeah, we're gonna talk about some Haney Kambosos. We're gonna talk about some Gervonta Davis and just okay, well, where does he go from here, and what do the next 2 years look like? So let me open up the chat to the panel. Rafa, que lo que? Rafa en el building, recoñazo. Yeah, I mean the pool of options for Gervonta Davis in terms of matchmaking. I mean, like, I'm not expecting him to fight these people, and it is what it is, If he can draw without those people, hey, awesome. Go draw. Just, do what you do. But, don't expect a guy like me to consider him one of the best fighters in the world. If he were, we'd see very different matchmaking. I vote what is good, and just tell me your thoughts on Gervonta Davis, all that stuff. Just what are you thinking?
I don't know why people are making this out to be such a big deal. It went exactly like everyone thought it was going to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I get it, man. He looks like a beast when you're fighting people like Rollies. I mean, like, look, there's not much to say, man. We've pretty much up till this have said our thoughts. There's no way in hell Rolly should have won. Personally, I kind of hoped he would win.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, come on, man, use that dumbass strength. Punch him one time, put him to sleep. But it went exactly like I thought it would go. Honestly, I thought it would have been done earlier. I thought it was going to be out by the 5th, but hey.
Me too. I thought it was going to be the 5th too.
I consider him this generation's Butterbean, in the sense that Butterbean, he wasn't in there fighting for WBC and IBF titles, right? He was just an attraction onto himself, that he's not necessarily fighting for, what these other guys are fighting for, but he's a bit of a novelty, he's a bit of an attraction, and that's the spectrum that I view Gervonta Davis in. Your promoter, in so many words, is saying that you don't need to fight those other fighters because you draw so well without them. So fat fucking chance of ever seeing you fight them. And if that's, look, if you could watch that shit anyway, then go ahead. But I can't really pay, right? I can't pay for something, especially in boxing, that's not building towards something. When we watched Usyk, go on the run that he went on, is because we thinking like, oh, he gonna shoot for undisputed, right? That's why we're watching. Same with Josh Taylor. Same with all of these fighters. We want to know. The reason the fans watch, or some of them at least, is to find out who's the best guy. So if you're not really on that, that's not really what you're doing. Hey, do your thing, but you're not gonna get my money. That's the gist of it.
You can't.
So it's Gervonta Bean. So it's Gervonta Bean.
Gervonta Bean, yeah.
Butter tank.
Yo, Julius, you said it was a bad stoppage yesterday. So I want to retort that and say this. I can understand why you would say that, but after Rolly got hit with that punch and he didn't follow orders, hey, at the end of the day, the referee told him to do something, he didn't do it. So if I let Tank hit him with another shot and really badly injure Rolly, that's on me. I think that was a good stoppage. And also, to be quite honest with you, Tank should not have, jostled with Rolly with the jab. He should have really just, stepped to him and let his power be known. He should have been backed up. I understand Rolly's a bigger guy. Don't get me, misconstrued with that. But it should have taken him 6 rounds, in my opinion.
Look, the reason that I said that it looked, I mean, like, I'm okay. Like, you don't see me shaking my fist at the sky over it, but it did feel like, look, Brian was actually worse for wear when he got up than Rolly was. I'm not saying he wasn't frazzled. Yeah, he frazzled. There were only seconds left on the clock. Maybe Gervonta finishes him. Maybe he makes it out of the round. He gets finished the next round. I'm just saying that it did seem it didn't seem like that ref wanted to give Rolly a chance. That's kind of what it looked like, because the ref in the Brian Castano fight, he looked bad. Like, look, you need to finish this. Like, it's over. Brian was still stumbling when he got up. I know, because I got the highlight and I'm going to use it for an intro. And he was still stumbling when he got up, but the ref let it go. He let Jermell Charlo finish his food. So let Gervonta Davis finish his food.
Jules, you know that ref in the Tank fight. You know he was wearing a Tank T-shirt, man. We all know that.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like when it comes to that fight, I think the reason that there were so many debates is because people can't accept that guys like us, we look at him and like he could be fun to watch and all that shit, but he ain't Lomachenko. He ain't Devin. No, I'm sorry. No, he's not Devin. I don't care how many tickets he sells. I don't care how excited you are about his fights. He's not doing the shit that Devin's doing.
He's not Shakur Stevenson. He's not
Shakur Stevenson. You want us? I think where the reason that this, because I'm sure Jay knows because he was in the debates. Mm-hmm. But Jay knows that it's like, if it just feels like the reason that there are arguments about finite matters. The reason for it is because they want guys to look at him a certain way without addressing why it is guys don't look at him a certain way. I don't look at him the same way I look at Shakur. Wow. Shakur's 23, 24. He's already a unified champion. Gervonta is 27 going on 28. He ain't unified yet. And he's campaigned at 3 weights. Hasn't unified once. Devin is biting the bullet. He going to kangaroo country for his. And that's some real shit. Gervonta not about to do that. He feels he doesn't have to, and whatever, right? Fine, whatever. But you're still not doing that, right? Right. All right, then. So what the fuck do you want?
See, like, their problem is, like, because we got into it with these guys today, in the space. Like, they want us to see Tank how they see them, and we won't. And that they don't like that. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. We state nothing but facts, nothing but stats, but they just seem to think what they're believing. I mean, like, what I could understand is, like, what makes me laugh is, like they counted everything. Oh, but he sells out the Barclays and the and the Staples Center. I'm like, so the fuck what? So what? Like,
Anthony Joshua sells out Wembley Stadium.
Look, there was a guy in the debate that he said exactly what Jay just said, right? And he says this as if somehow that makes Rolly a better fighter, when the literal subject that we were on in the beginning was the quality of competition and how beating Rolly doesn't mean a whole lot. Whose mic is that?
Not mine.
The subject we were on was the quality of competition. So it's like, well, if we're talking about Rolly as a fighter, why are you bringing up ticket sales? That doesn't fucking have anything to do with anything.
Well, that's because Rolly's pound for pound number 0, Like,
exactly.
That's funny as hell. That's funny as fuck. That's funny as shit.
Shout out to Coach. What he was saying, it's like, this makes sense because, like, we were saying, like, how Jules, we were saying, like, how the ref was kind of giving Tank, like, maybe, extra consideration. Like, this makes sense because, like, shout out to Coach Balka. He was saying, like, this whole time, how Tank said that he implied that he might leave Mayweather Promotions. That was nothing but a ploy, a PR stunt to draw more eyes to that fight because
that's what I said, Jay.
Post-fight, what he do? Oh, I'm staying. I'm not going nowhere.
Jay, that's what. Look. If you go back to the earliest 4 weeks ago, the videos I did 4 weeks ago, you're literally going to hear me say that, look, you know what I think it could be? It could be a marketing angle because at the end of the day, Rolly,
I remember now. Yep.
Rolly's like and for what it's worth, God bless that kid because he actually created a semi-intriguing environment just because, you know how he is. And it's very funny. It wasn't funny enough for me to buy the fight, but whatever. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like you need an angle for this fight because this fight is not the reason fight fans watch fights. Fighters are prize fighters, but the reason that fight fans watch fights is because they want to know who the best guy is. That's why we watch. That's why we watch the World Boxing Super Series. That's why we watch a title fight to see who's going to be the guy that when the smoke settles, he's the last man standing. And that is not what you're providing the consumer. People hoped that Rolly could win, but they didn't think he would. Like,
I mean, Jules, let me ask you this, Jules. Do you actually think the Teofimo Lopez bet $100,000 on Rolly to win?
Say that again.
Did you actually think the Teofimo Lopez bet $100,000 on Rolly?
Yeah, because that's what emotionally compromised people do.
I don't know, man. I'm having a hard time buying that.
Damn,
Because, like,
Kambosos really did hit him hard if he did that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, look, you know, Kambosos' dad put up some money. Ryan put up $20,000 with Errol Spence Jr. on camera. I could believe that they put that up. It was stupid, and you should never gamble with your heart anyway, really. But look, man, all I'm saying about Tank is if you like him, you don't have to justify liking him. You know, it's just you keep putting his name in places where he doesn't belong. Nah, he's not a pound for pound fighter. I'm sorry, but he's not.
Like in what era and what stratosphere would you put this guy in pound for pound when the only legitimate belt he had was the IBF 130 belt and the other two belts were baby belts, and people say, oh, he's been champ in 3 different weight classes, knowing damn well those belts, if anyone else would have had them, oh, you're not real champ. But since the hood loves Tank and he's been marketed to the hood, everyone loves Tank. I don't want to hear that, bro.
Yo, I'm glad that Chris brought that up, right? Because check the shit, right? I understand, and Ronnie said it better than I could. Malachi said it better than I could. That look, you know, if this is a lifestyle, I think it was Ronnie. Ronnie said the shit yesterday. I think it was. Shout out to Ron. He said that it's a lifestyle they selling. You know what I mean? And it's like, look, if that shit, if people willing to buy that shit, that's dope. But stop getting into arguments with boxing fans then, because I'm just a boxing fan. I don't give a shit about the lifestyle. I don't care about none of that shit. I only care about the boxing shit. And this is not a pound for pound fighter. And what I notice is whenever a fighter does some dope shit, like, you know, Shakur Stevenson, he beats a Oscar Valdez. He makes it look easy. People start talking about pound for pound. Here come the Tank fan. He ain't better than, like, fam. Shakur fighting for belts. Tank is not. Get that.
Shakur fighting 50-50 fights and making them look easy. And also, let's look at it. Let's look at it like this. When I see people, I know, like, personally, when I see people who don't either watch boxing, watch Tank, I know what that is. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, y'all better hope that guy doesn't fight a live wire who don't give a fuck about him and can punch and is skillful. Because y'all gonna see something nasty. And you remember how, you know, when Roy got slid under the rope? It's going to be the same thing for these people. These people better understand. They better tell Tank, like, yo, bro, if you really that dude, go to Top Rank. Please, I know you're not. But at the end of the day, you better start telling people to fight these dudes.
Because until then, you can't take Tank seriously like you do with Shakur. You can't. There's no way.
Look, Shakur is, and this was a part of the debate that you know that we or the discussion, because parts of it were debates and parts of it were a discussion. Ultimately, we're talking about a hypothetical fight that probably doesn't happen for years, if it ever happens. And the reason I see that Shakur would be the guy that I definitely pick to beat Tank is because he doesn't make the mistakes that a Rolly Romero makes. He doesn't make the mistakes that a Leo Santa Cruz makes, and he's a southpaw like Gervonta is a southpaw, and I'd wager that he's probably more used to dealing with southpaws than you are because of his amateur background. You know, Davis, he had an Army background, but he ain't no motherfucking Olympian. No, you know, you didn't
exactly.
Olympics. You know,
it's all based on ring IQ, and you know, it's all based on his IQ. And Shakur has a very high IQ.
I see when Gervonta nails these guys, what I notice is the guy makes a mistake or the guy's just completely outgunned. Like you got a Gamboa, that's a guy that's outgunned. Nunez outgunned. Ruiz outgunned.
Cuellar
outgunned. Fonseca outgunned. All right. The other guys you fight, you know, like Leo Santa Cruz and this motherfucker last night. Well, they made mistakes. Shakur's not a guy who makes mistakes. He can win the fight off the jab alone. That's what I see. He
has underrated power too.
If he want to pot shot you for 12, he'll do that and win. And maybe people don't get excited, but I'm not gauging excitement. I'm saying this guy beats you on points.
But Shakur's got no problem with it. He's got no problem with doing that.
You know, just one thing.
And Tank does get hit too.
One at a time. Yes. Go ahead, Mo. One at a time.
You know, going back to Tank and his level of competition, like, I'm sorry, you guys picked picked Rolly. Some of you picked Rolly, or some of you were hoping Rolly can be competitive. But I just remember watching Rolly Ramiro fight that guy. I had to go check box rec. Jackson Martinez or something like that.
Marinas.
Yeah,
Marinas. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry for my pronunciation. And I remember the fight after this guy fought. Fucking hell, I'm getting.
He fought Richard Comey. He fought Richard Comey.
And got splattered.
Yeah, and then he got dog walked, bro, against Comey. But when he was against Rolly, he looked stronger than Rolly.
Yeah.
He was pushing Rolly back. He was using the shoulder roll and.
I know the point that Mo is making, and I made this point in the debate that with the discussion we had earlier. That to encapsulate what I mean when I say this, I view the PBC's stable as B and C tier. That's how I view them. Like I view Rolly as a C level fighter. I view Marinas as a B minus to a C plus. I view a Comey as a solid B to a B plus because he's actually been a champion. They haven't. And then when you get to A, now you're talking Haney. Now you're talking Lomachenko. These kinds of people. You know what I mean?
Lopez too,
bro.
Listen, yeah, I mean to some degree.
Well, I have to put Kambosos at A too. You know, at an A minus, B plus.
We'll see if he wins this fucking fight. He's a fucking A. He certainly is. But this is the thing. When the outcome of that fight is determined, you know what you're going to see on Sunday morning? You're going to see Gervonta Davis fans talking about Gervonta. And I'm like, I don't know why y'all do this. Y'all done been through this with Tevin Farmer. Y'all done been through this with... Y'all keep saying this. Wait, what are we waiting for, fam? We've been waiting. What is the point? You need to believe, or you need... not even you, because you believe it. You need for other people to believe your fantasy. This is a fucking fantasy.
What's going to happen is what's going to happen is you're going to see Tank just put out like another fucking bad tweet that just says, "Oh yeah, whatever, that's nothing. I outsold. I did better." You know how people tend to, how he tends to do it, and it's going to be more like a name, like, "Oh yeah, well, congratulations on going undisputed, but I'm better."
It's funny,
but I sold 18,000.
Cloud chasing. Cloud chasing. You're gonna be cloud chasing. It's the typical PBC MO.
Didn't he cloud chase Loma and then that never went anywhere? I know he clowned. He clowned Haney. I know he clowned calling him.
He cloud chased Josh Taylor too.
Yeah. Listen, whenever Lomachenko had a fight in the last, I'll say 4.5 years, right? The Sunday morning afterwards, what you see is the same old bull. Oh, we'll take this. It's like, bro, like you the one that's attaching his name to a guy that we all know he ain't gonna fight. By all rights, they in different conversations. I don't care if you think Loma's special or you're not special, but he's one of the guys that's fighting to unify and fighting to become undisputed. Tank is not. So let sleeping dogs lie and just leave it be. Like if his whole thing is, oh, I just want to sell tickets, then go fucking sell tickets, bro. Let's go sell tickets.
Nothing wrong with that. But like y'all remember he clout chased y'all remember y'all know who else he clout chased? Ask about this when he slept Burcho. Y'all remember that?
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is promotion by way of name association. And I've been saying that that's what they're doing. They do promotion by way of name association over there. And it's not even exclusive to Tank. When they may as well be on different planets. So these fighters and those fighters, like they ain't gonna fight. Some of them don't even have common opponents. Some of them. So what's the argument? You want us to rank Tank with these other guys? Well, until he fight them, we can't fucking do that.
Like Jules, you know what this is? You described it once. You described it as like, you remember WandaVision and the Hex, right? That's where Tank is.
Yeah. Like in other words, I don't care who wins Tank versus Loma. I don't care. I care about seeing the fight. But if there ain't no fight, then why are we talking? There's no fight.
And Tank ain't even the best pound for pound on Mars. So,
let alone on Earth.
Julius, can I say something?
Yeah, a little.
Everybody pipe down. Go ahead, Leo.
Okay, this is the PBC figure out in some way is safer for his brand to cultivate not boxing fans. It's safer for them cultivating fanboys. they're gonna try to protect in some way these boxers' interest, but they are not their interest. There's the brand interest. I mean, Gervonta Davis can have all these fights if he moves up from the PBC, but those fanboys, they are not gonna allow it because they say no, you have to get with PBC in Al Haymon, and those guys have to be there. They have to cross the street. That was the whole thing. This is the thing. For me, Crawford, I am a fan. I'm a boxing fan of Crawford. But if you don't make this fight happen, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna allow it. I'm not gonna be okay. They're lowballing you. No, this is your chance to be great. 2-time undisputed. So if you don't take that fight, if you don't make it happen, I'm not gonna support you in the same way. But these guys can allow these fights because Rolly Romero. I was watching the fight. I feel dirty. I hate myself. But after the fight ended, I was like, "What am I supposed to make of that?"
Nothing.
What was Rolly Romero in the boxing world? Was a C-level fighter?
That's the point. That's the point that I was making earlier, Leo. That a part of the reason we watch the fights is because of what the fighter is building towards. But when you know that this isn't necessarily a step in a direction of undisputed, this is not some legacy guy that he beat, or this is not some guy that, he's not anything. You're just, in other words, you are just the prize fighter. There's supposed to be an appeal to the consumer and an appeal for the fighter. Obviously, for the prize fighter, the appeal is the prize. But for the consumer, you need an angle. And the angle that usually consumers go for is, okay, we want to know who the best fighter is. That's why the fighters fight the fights. Well, with you, we're never going to fucking know that because you're not going to fight any of these fucking people. So why watch? What's the point? You beat Rolly. Congratulations. And who was Rolly? Who did he beat? Same with Isaac Cruz. Nothing against him because I think he has potential. But who did he beat? And if you fight him again and beat him again, what the fuck does it mean?
Nothing.
You still count for pound number one?
Even though I agree with everything, do you think Tank and Ryan Garcia are parallel? Like they're doing the same thing on different sides of the streets?
Yes, 100%.
Because I really don't like
but let me ask you this, Mo. When have I ever spared Ryan Gersha criticism?
No, I'm not. I'm just looking at it from a different. I'm not saying that. Of course, you've been fair. You've actually, you were fair to him even with when the fight broke down between him and Cruz as well. You said whoever pulls out, they're the ones to blame. And yeah. And on other occasions, you said that. Yeah.
I remember when you made fun of Ryan in terms of Eddie Reynoso. It was probably one of the funniest things ever. Like, hey Ryan, you want me to hold your hand, Ryan? You want me to rub your back, Ryan? That shit had me crying, bro.
What Ryan and Gervonta are trying to do is not dissimilar from each other in the sense that they're looking for a shortcut to the money. And in some ways they found it because Ryan, he just did $1.3 million at the gate. Gervonta, he just 18,000 people in attendance. I think this pay-per-view probably did do better than the Isaac Cruz pay-per-view, but we'll see. The point is
more build-up.
Yeah. So if your whole thing is getting to the bag and nothing else, hey, that's great. But you're not going to get my money with that angle. That's just reality. These broke guys that care so much about how much money you're making, maybe that appeals to them because a lot of times, just like in the debate or in the discussion that Lady Chan was hosting, you got a guy that he'll bring up, Tank. So, well, does that make Rolly a better fighter? Does that make this fight more entertaining?
Where your receipt, bro? Did you even buy Tank fight?
Thank you.
That's the $80 question. That's the $80 question. Did you buy the fight?
What's the tax?
This entire year we've been having unifications, undisputed bouts. If you actually paid $75, I think it was $75 for this fight, dude, Godspeed, man. Godspeed.
And more importantly, I think it's Alexis Rumbero who often brings this up, and shout out to him. He says that, when these guys' careers are over and, they're not fighters anymore, and maybe the money is or isn't gone, how people remember you, you're going to feel it. And guy like me, I'm not going to remember a career like Tank's. Like, bro, what the fuck was your career even about? What was your shit about?
Aren't Ryan and Tank like the logical conclusion of
what's the memorable fight that you knocked out Leo Santa Cruz?
Oh, I got you, Barrios. If it was good for Thurman, it's good for him.
I guess.
Well, let's look at it like this. We all know boxers are very emotional. We all know the fan bases are very emotional. But when the objective truth hits these people, they're not going to be able to look themselves in the mirror. Like, for example, you can say whatever you want about, Sugar Ray Leonard. Did he stall out Marvin Hagler? But he fought Tommy Hearns. He fought Roberto Duran 3 times. He fought Ayub Kalule. He fought great fighters to know, like, hey, they may have done some stuff, but he fought the fights.
Listen, Donnie Lalonde on Ray Leonard's resume is better than every win Tank has. Just plain old Donnie motherfucking Lalonde is more ambitious. And we're talking about young guys. That's what makes it nauseating. But we're not talking about an old man that's looking for a cash out fight. If we talking about that, we talking about Triple G. If we talking about old man looking for a cat, you 27, fam. If you don't do it now, right, you ain't been doing it. Yo, who eating cereal?
Oh, sorry. I was yawning. I wasn't. I was yawning, but I wasn't eating anything.
All right.
What's up, fellas? What's up, man?
What's good? If you ain't been doing it and you're still in your 20s and you ain't been doing it and you ain't about to do it, there's no real reason to spend money to see that shit. You need to spend $80 to see Gervonta knock out Rolly because you didn't know that was going to happen.
Jules, Jules, let's look at it like this. People may talk all this stuff about like people like Juan Manuel Marquez or like, people of that ilk. But mind you, Marquez has, like fights with great fighters outside of Pacquiao, outside of Floyd Mayweather. He has great fights with like great fighters. And a lot of people would like try to forget Marquez because, he's not Manny or he's not Floyd. But let's look at it. Your favorite fighter doesn't have near the, resume that a Marquez has. So at the end of the day, if we're talking about guys who are 27 years old, 28 years old, haven't even moved up past one weight class, hasn't done what the older dudes have done, how are we going to look at you with such fondness? Like, for example, you gotta remember, Sugar Ray Leonard versus Tommy Hearns won. Ray Leonard was 25 and Tommy Hearns was 22. So let's look at it. These guys were having these fights early.
Yeah, there's no excuses. It becomes monotonous to say that. Listen, what they're gonna do when we bring up those fighters that have a couple of losses, they're gonna point at the unbeaten record. Oh, he never. Well, who the fuck was he fighting that could beat him? Who? What super fights?
Yeah, Rolly would be like a club fighter in like the 90s and 80s. He'd be like in steamers, like
he'd be like a steamer opponent. We knew Rolly was going to lose, but you know what? I'll give Rolly some credit for making an effort at least. He did all right for a couple rounds before we knew he was going to get knocked out.
No, but but that's why it was like a running gag, country. That's why it was like a running gag that, God, what if he loses to Rolly? Because you're not supposed to lose to Rolly. Because we see what he looks like when he shadow boxes. You know what I mean?
Rolly is like that one, is like the very first enemy you'll fight in like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Exactly. He glassed
Rolly's better than
he's like the first guy to get his ass beat in a Steven Seagal movie.
Exactly.
He's just first, big and dumb. He's like the first thing you see.
He's the first henchman in a Van Damme movie. He's the first guy that he put it on. That's
one thing you notice about Rolly though, he ain't all there, dude. Because what he was saying after the fight, he just ain't all there.
Now he's funny. But we knew that before the fight. Let me read the super chat. Crying Ryan Garcia and Cap Davis are both in their promotions daycare programs and both constantly lie, cap, and pump fake. At this point, I hope, who might be
Who's somebody yawning?
I don't know. It sounds like somebody having an asthma attack. I hope both get smoked. Listen, I would love nothing more than for somebody to just knock out Ryan Garcia just for the heart attack to give Oscar. That'll be.
Oh, bro, Oscar, bring out the fishnets again, man.
Yo, man, you do it. He'll probably relapse. He'll probably relapse and go on a coke binge or something.
Bro, if he wasn't sniffing before, if he wasn't sniffing before, he definitely going to sniff now. Mark Wayne says
price of the brick going up.
Mark Wayne says PBC TBE are marketing Tank to particular class of turd already. Let's pivot and talk about these clowns saying Canelo got to give up his September date. All right, yeah, I saw that tweet. I was actually going to save that for an episode of the Relay, but I'm going to come at it from this angle, right? I'm going to just come at it from this angle. This is really the
fucking audacity.
This is really the only angle you could come at it at. Look, I love Crawford and Spence. I love that fight. I've been waiting for it for a very long time, but the truth, that shit is small potatoes to whatever Canelo is doing. That's just facts. That's just facts. That Canelo versus Golovkin trilogy is going to sell more than that Crawford versus Spence fight. It just is. That's reality. How you going to try to get the cash cow of boxing? I have seen Canelo disrespected in a way that I have never seen no other cash cow treated. You know what I mean? Y'all expect him to come to you, and he got to give you $10 million up front for a fight, and now you need him to move off his date. Like, bruh, he the cash cow, not y'all. The smartest thing you could do your fight before his fight. Do it before his fight or way after his fight. But don't fuck with his date. Like, what are y'all, crazy? I'm telling y'all, for all that bullshit you read on the internet about Golovkin is old and nobody want to see this, I guarantee you more people are going to pay to see Canelo versus Golovkin than Crawford versus Spence. I guarantee it.
Bro, Canelo versus Bivol had like no marketing, damn near nothing. His name alone sold that fight, and he'd still made more money than anyone else this year. So get the fuck out of here.
Exactly.
Well,
I saw one goddamn Bivol versus Canelo trailer when I was watching one of your relays. That's it. That's the only marketing I saw.
You know what was funny was when Ellerby was sitting there talking about being happy about selling 18,000 or 19,000.
And this is bear in mind, this is the guy that goes on camera and tells other Americans Eddie Hearn doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. All I know is that 73,000, that was a matchroom show. That's what I know.
Yes, it was.
It's a matchroom show. Did you sell 73,000 tickets with anybody at all this year?
If you add up all of his fights, maybe.
You sell out Barclays, but what about MSG?
You know what was more irritating was watching Tank sit there with Ellerby, and you just knew he wasn't really going to leave, and like he's going back to the same old hat.
We knew, country, you knew, and Leo knew, and Julio knew. Everybody on this panel knew.
Man. It's still irritating, even though we knew. It's still irritating.
I mean, country. I tell you,
I kind of felt for it.
Funny,
to be honest.
What was funny, like, is to hear. I don't know if y'all heard him compare this fight to Hagler Hearns. I mean, it's like, because let me unpack right quick. So we got next week. We got a fight that's going to go in the history books. An undisputed fight at 135 in the 4-belt era on ESPN Plus for free, and yet you want to charge us for this foregone conclusion bullshit.
And this is exactly, and this is what I mean. That I've seen people do this to Leonard, and they'll bring up the same point that you just iterated, and Leonard's response is always the same. If you don't like it, then don't buy it. Okay, cool. I don't buy them shits. Well, Tank has been on pay-per-view, 3-4 times now? I haven't bought none of them shits, and it's not because I don't buy pay-per-views. I do. I buy several times a year, but I'm not buying that bullshit. And the point that I always make, his success is always going to have that ceiling until you start making real fights. Those are not real fights.
There's a gag order on how many pay-per-views there were gag order on, by the way.
Where the heck was Floyd, man?
Floyd wasn't there, bro. But let me say this. Nobody say nothing. I believe that the rift that we always hear about is between Gervonta and Floyd, not Gervonta and Leonard. Leonard is an ass kisser and a brown noser, dog. Like, the rift ain't between them. The rift is between Gervonta and Floyd. That's who got the problem. And it's like the saving grace for Leonard is you could see that Floyd doesn't really micromanage if he manages anything at all at Mayweather Promotions. I don't get the sense that he does. I get the sense that the guy in charge of operations is Leonard, not Floyd. So as long as you keep Floyd away from Gervonta, he probably cool as shit over there. He probably don't give a shit. But when you decide to promote your little exhibition match the same day as your fighter's press conference, what message does that communicate?
Second best is better. Second best.
Let me tell you this though. The rift, this is what I heard about the rift between Tank and Floyd. This is what I heard from CJ. Shout out to CJ Goodfella. He basically said Floyd wanted Tank to leave Baltimore because of the trouble he was getting in, and Tank didn't want to leave Baltimore, and Tank was just being hard-headed. And, you know, Floyd being emotional, and Floyd really not wanting to, concede or yield to another person's demands, got pissed off, and Floyd did what Floyd did. But in this situation, for Floyd wanting to get Tank out of an environment that could potentially get Tank in some trouble, I can't get mad at Floyd at this, because at the end of the day, I'm putting all my money into you, and you out here running into people, you out here, playing, doing weird stuff with your baby moms and everything, and this is the thanks I get. Like, if I was Floyd, I understand, hey, this might be the best fighter I have, but hey, if you want to be on some self-destructive shit, trust me, you can leave, because if anyone knows about a self-destructive path, it would be Floyd Mayweather, because prior to Adrian Broner, Floyd was getting the fights in the club. Floyd was doing the domestic violence stuff. Mind you, Floyd knows all that stuff. So if Floyd's trying to save you from yourself, you should at least heed that. But it is what it is.
It's the pendulum swings both ways, right? The other thing is that Floyd is not, Mayweather Promotions is not top rank in the sense of grooming fighters. They're not. Floyd, if you look at him as a promoter, this is a fledgling promotional outfit compared to the other outfits that are out there. This is one of the more recent ones, I would say. And all you really have is Gervonta Davis, right? So it's like you're not going to have the same ability as someone else, yet you're always talking shit about everybody else. Leonard's always talking shit about Matchroom. Brody, you have one fighter. That's it. You have one guy that sells. Matchroom has a couple of guys that sell, Canelo Alvarez among them. At least he's with them right now, but they don't have it all riding on one guy. So when you see that they having problems, the same people having problems with the one fighter you have one fighter. You not in a position to turn your nose up at nobody. You got one fighter. If he leaves, what happens? What happens to Mayweather Promotions without Gervonta Davis? What happens?
They're defunct.
Like a rock.
They're defunct.
Well, if you have, I don't know if spontaneous combustion's a thing, but if he leaves, man, Leonard's gonna spontaneously combust.
Let's say, Ryan, he gets knocked the fuck out in his next fight. Golden Boy still has Virgil. They still got Zerto, that they got something. Mayweather Promotions, they're going to give Rolly the reins. He's going to take care of business.
Jules, a prime example of that was that sorry-ass fight that was the co-main event.
Oh, that was terrible.
Oh my God. They both need to retire.
Laura needs his goddamn stimulus check and get the fuck out, man.
Well, let me just talk about Lara for a second.
39 years old. I mean, damn, what's he gonna do?
All right, now let me talk about Lara for a second. Lara is another guy that is fighting for no reason other than a check. How do you know? He's been fighting once a year. I anticipate that might be his only fight this year. He's been fighting once a year for the last 2 years. Greg Vendetti and Cornflake LaManna, right? And he's one of these guys who also wants promotion by way of name association. He says he's being avoided. Avoided by who? You're on the same side of the street as Jermall Charlo. You're on the same side of the street as all those junior middleweights. So if somebody's avoiding you, you must be talking about your own stablemates. Isn't the PBC motto that guys are on the wrong side of the street? Let me tell you something. You on the wrong side of the street for a Golovkin fight. You are. If you want a Golovkin, you go to Matchroom. Because you're not a bigger name than Golovkin, right? So why the fuck would he come to you? Sure. And this is the childish double standard that seems to apply to Crawford, but it never applies to the PBC. It never applies to the PBC guy. When Brody, if you want Golovkin and Canelo's of the world, why the fuck are you at the PBC? Well, you're not gonna get them being over there, and you don't got nothing that they want. If you want them, cross the street. Same logic applies to Gervonta Davis. Gervonta, you called out Devin Haney earlier this week. How the fuck you gonna get him re-signing to Mayweather?
Jules, you're forgetting something very important. Canelo is the bigger version of Gervonta. Always remember that.
It don't matter how much Laura crosses the street or what he does. He ain't gonna do nothing at 39 years old, man.
I mean, yeah, but Laura's one of these guys. See, after the Mayweather era, right? There were pseudo boxing snobs who had an affinity for pure boxers. I've always been a little biased against pure boxers. I have to admit that. But when they saw that Mayweather achieved what he achieved by way of technical and defensively sound fighting, they looked at every defensive fighter as being in that realm. And I'm like, Lara was never that. But if you kick it to them, Lara was this special fucking guy. Like, I wish that Golovkin would have fought this guy back then, so you would see what I'm talking. That man would get annihilated. Look at what Jared Hurd did to you. What the fuck would Gennady have done to you, bro?
Yeah.
Hey, let's look at it like this. Let's be fair. At the end of the day, Jared Hurd put his weight on that dude, and also let's look at it like this. Jared Hurd was getting beat up in that fight. He was getting hit with left hand after left hand after left hand.
Jared Hurd was getting beaten up. I'll give you that, but
he was. He did knock him down, but I understand. Let me finish. Let me just say.
Yeah, go ahead.
We do understand.
Let Mo go. I heard you. Go ahead, Mo.
Yeah, but I've seen Golovkin walk forward even if he gets hit clean. Worse than Jared Hurd. Jared Hurd just reminds me of Dominic Brazil, but a lower weight class.
That's terrible.
I don't rate Jared Hurd at all. I mean, he's a strong guy at 154, but now he's at 160. There's nothing special about him, and he's still the bigger guy, and he's still nothing special.
Now go ahead, Chris.
But like I was saying about Jared Hurd, he did knock him down. He did win by split decision. But let's look at it like this. When they asked him, hey, would you ever fight Erislandy Lara again? He said no. But at the end of the day, you're the bigger guy. Why would you not fight the guy that you beat up? You were the bigger guy. You had all the advantages. Why would you not fight him?
I know what you're saying here. You're saying he's the bigger guy, and it was a really close, contentious fight.
And I'm
what's a guy who only throws 2 punches? He barely throws a right hook. He barely throws body shots.
But let me interject. See, my point with Golovkin and Lara is that guys started thinking that every pure boxer is of the ilk and on the level of a Mayweather. It just so happens that Lara, for a very long time, was the beneficiary of that school of thought. And I've always maintained Lara ain't shit. And that fight. I
can't say Lara ain't shit. That's crazy.
I'm going to say it, Chris. He ain't shit.
I think
so look what he did to Paul Williams. Look what he did to some real quality fighters, bro.
I feel in my heart. Yeah, he won a P. Will fight. What else though? What else?
Look what he did to Trout. Think about it,
bro. Who didn't beat Trout though?
Trout gave people tough fights, bro. He made Trout look kind of easy.
But see,
you can't say that.
Yo, where does Lara rank?
This is
as far as top Cuban pro fighters all time. Where does Lara land and all that?
He's low. He's on the lower. He's on the lower tier. He's not Joel Casamayor. He's not Guillermo Rigondeaux. I understand that.
Dorticos, give me Uniel El Dorticos El Keo Doctor any old day of the fucking week before Lara.
Because you like nasty, violent niggas. You don't like nasty.
Is there something wrong with that?
I'm just like you. I like foul niggas, but at the end of the day, I always like Erislandy Lara because every time he got in the ring, he's always giving people tough times. We can't do that to him. You can't do that.
All right. Let me restructure this shit.
He ran against Canelo.
Let me restructure this shit then, because this is what I'm really trying to communicate, right? If Lara were what he was made out to be, if Lara were what he was made out to be, then he would have did to Jared what motherfucking he would have did to Jared what motherfucking Julian Williams did to Jared. But I've always
I agree with you.
Let me finish the shit. What I'm saying is Lara was always given too much credit for my taste. And I knew that Jared was gonna smoke him. Why? You ain't all that, fam. That's what I've been like. He not all that. Like, I don't know why y'all trying to blow smoke up everybody. Y'all really think Lara that couldn't keep off Jared Hurd? What, he was gonna keep off Golovkin? What are you, high? You high?
If Danny Jacobs couldn't keep Golovkin off, and mind you, I remember watching one of your streams, bro. Danny Jacobs did keep Golovkin gun shy. But if Danny Jacobs couldn't keep Golovkin off, I understand that. But my thing is with Erislandy Lara. How many times are you going to keep throwing that same 1-2, 1-2? When are you going to add a right hook to the body? When are you going to add a right hook to the head? When are you going to start putting combinations together outside of that? Because at the end of the day, let's keep. I feel you, but let's keep it a buck. If Erislandy Lara is just winning off that 1-2, and you think that 1-2 is going to keep Golovkin off, it's not. I understand that. But for what he's been doing, I gotta give him credit for what he's done.
What he been doing? If we gotta bring up P. Will, you know what that tell me? You ain't been doing much. If we gotta bring up P. Will,
think about it. Did that shit is hilarious. But the Charlo brothers didn't fight him.
I'm just saying, while we had to travel all the, and I'm not being funny, I'm dead serious. We gotta go all the way back to when Paul Williams could walk. To talk about shit that Larry did.
That's crazy.
That's sick.
That's
true.
That's facts, though. That is facts, though. That is facts. That is facts.
So now, bear in mind, now think about this shit, right? We know that the last 2 years of Lara's career have been shit, like Greg Vendetti, Cornflake LaManna. Before that, motherfucking Brian Castano was giving you the business. He was giving
all in your ass, literally, no homo.
But he was, and then all right, let's go before the Brian Castano fight. What was happening then? Jared Hurd was giving you the business.
He drew with Carlos Molina, a journeyman.
I see. All right, Carlos.
That was years ago, though. That was years ago.
I'm just saying that he has owed to me, right? I have always felt, you know, the argument that I like to make about Danny, that he's the beneficiary of a lot of participation awards, right? Well, I've always felt that way about Lara, that all y'all really talking about is that fucking Canelo fight. That's all y'all really talking about. Because as far as him, just him, he ain't been doing shit. What the fuck?
Just like you said about Danny against Lucas Matisse, outside of, Danny fighting Lucas Matisse, who he beat. He lost to Mauricio Herrera in Puerto Rico. I don't give a fuck what nobody says. Let's keep it a buck. He beat Robert Guerrero, who was a blown up 126, and that saw better days. Like, let's keep it a buck. Like, Danny Garcia never really did too much. I feel what you're saying about
this is what I mean.
Lara, though.
This is what I've always, because Lara used to be a guy in 2015 and 2016. It was promotion by way of name association. He's telling a guy, right? Think about this. Don't say nothing. Just think about it. Miguel Cotto is at middleweight. Canelo Alvarez is at middleweight. And you telling Golovkin what, to come to you? What the fuck? Are you on crack? You on drug? Why the fuck would
And what money did you give what a Gennady Golovkin would have got? I do remember that too. But understand this. Canelo was at 155. He was playing the Canelo weight.
That was middleweight, though. You know that.
I feel you.
Really, that was Super Cotto weight, because what most people don't remember about that is Cotto wanted that. Cotto asked for the 155 for the Canelo fight. That was Super Cotto weight. Before that was Super Canelo weight.
That is facts. Cotto fought Martinez at 58 as opposed to 60 too. A lot of people fail to realize that.
Daniel Gill, when he fought Daniel Gill, when he fought fucking Martinez, I think that was 158. When he fought Daniel Gill, that was at 157. When he fought Canelo, that was at 155. That was Cotto shit first, all right?
But that's a fact, but nobody wants to say that either. That no one does. Because when Golovkin called out Cotto, everybody say, "Oh, you're a weight bully. Why are you at 160 then?" And when Golovkin wanted to fight Peter Quillen, when Golovkin wanted to fight Andy Lee, when Golovkin wanted to fight everybody, I remember when Golovkin was getting ducked and everybody say, "Oh, Golovkin this, Golovkin that." I remember.
So at this time, right, you got Lara, who literally been sat at 154 the whole time, right? You at 154 the whole time, using Golovkin name and the waves that he has created, or just the conversations that he's in. You trying to get your boogie board out to ride that wave. And it was then that I started saying, yo, this dude is a fucking cornball. You a cornball. Like,
if Lara really wanted to make splashes at 160, how come he didn't fight Felix Sturm? Because you got to remember, Felix Sturm was WBA super middleweight champion, meaning that we got to keep it a buck here. Gennady had the baby belt for a long time. If he really wanted to make that fight against Gennady, he could have fought Felix Sturm. Why didn't he?
Because he a cornball. Like I said, I told people, listen, if Lara was serious, right, you got to keep it real with yourself. Your name is not buzzing right now like Gennady's. But if you truly believe that you can expose him, right, move up in weight, become his mandatory, because he not going to leave that middleweight division for you. You ain't fucking nobody. And for 3 whole years, motherfuckers ran around talking about some Lara this and Lara that. I'm like, yo, who the fuck did Lara beat? Did I miss something? Who he been beating that y'all so high on him? So when I recap all this shit, I'm like, now you see the picture. They're like, yo, Lara didn't beat shit, bro. He living off of 2 fights.
Audited Lara's career.
The loss to Canelo and the Paul Williams and the loss to P. Will. That should have been a W. That's what
that's crazy though. Like I really had to go back to the dude when he was walking, man. That's crazy.
Well, he one of them guys that he has been a beneficiary of a lot of participation awards, because if I think about what you have done, you haven't really done much. Just you.
Carlos could have fought him. Think about it. Jamal could have fought him, but hey, he moved up to 160. Jamal doesn't want to fight him. He could have fought Tony Harrison. I never know why he never did. Like, I understand what you're saying now, because
matchup. It's a terrible, like that would be like Rancis Bartholomew versus this kid. Yeah, Robert Easter. They both pure boxers. It's not going to be a nice looking fight at all.
Hey, so what? At the end of the day, somebody needs to win that fight to see who's better. At the end of the day, somebody's going to.
What was he going to win off Tony though?
Hey, I think Tony has more knockouts. You got to remember, Tony got more knockouts than.
I ain't saying that. I'm saying you make that fight. Why? You make it why though? For what?
Hey, at the end of the day, they both have 54. They both want. If they both want to, make it not make a name for themselves. If they really want to, keep their name viable. Hey, I understand that. Like, I understand it's an ugly style matchup. We've seen pure boxer versus pure boxer stink out the place 100 times. We understand that. But at the end of the day, we know that, hey, if you want to get this title shot, you guys are both, high in the rankings and all sanctioning bodies. And hey, nobody else wants to fight you. Might as well. It's similar to things to like how, Jermall Charlo and Demetrius Andrade should have been fought, because, hey, other guys not wanting to fight you like that, because whether you don't bring in, money, or in Demetrius Andrade's case, high risk, low reward, you're going to have to fight. Don't you think?
Let me read this. Yo, Julius, this is off topic, but what happened to the pad shit between Wilder and Povetkin? Around that time, I was giving Wilder mad credit for going into that. The reason what happened with that is the first time out, Povetkin tested positive for a drug that had just been added to the ban list, right? And because the drug was a new drug that was added to the ban list, it had ambiguous characteristics. So on that premise, they let Povetkin off the hook. Like, you know what? It's a new drug. We don't necessarily know how it behaves, so we'll let you off with a slap on the wrist. Fast forward.
You got to
I know. Fast forward, he tests positive again, but this time he tests positive for Osterin, and Osterin had been on the ban list since 2006. So because of that, Povetkin was banned by the WBC for I think 2 years or something like that. It was like 2 years, but that's what happened to that. You know what I mean? That's what
happened. Didn't he test Asterin for Stavern? Then he fought Duhaupas?
Yeah, that was for the Stavern. They ordered a final eliminator for Wilder's mandatory between Povetkin and Stavern. And ahead of the fight, Povetkin tested positive for Asterin, and that got him bumped off the WBC altogether for like 2 years. When he popped back up in the WBO rank standards and the WBA, but not the WBC.
All right, cool.
Can I say something, Julius?
Yeah, Leo.
I think the conclusion here is Lara is good, but he lacks something. I don't know what it is. I cannot pinpoint what he lacks, but he lacks something as a pure boxer. Not in the way, for example, Dimitri Bivol. Dimitri Bivol is a complete fighter.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have close fights. I don't think in that point of his career he's going to have a fight like Lara versus Angulo. No, he's not going to have it. And he proved he's
not Guillermo Rigondeaux in his prime, I tell you that.
Yeah, but it's good. But it's not gonna. You can give him credit for how he performed, but not his resume, because it's not really there.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at when it comes to Lara. That Lara was talked about as if he's like Rigo. And I literally used to make that correlation back in 2015 and 2016 in the groups that, look, you want to talk about a decorated guy? That's Rigo. He's lineal at his weight and he's unified. Lara is not those things. The only real thing y'all talking about is a fucking Canelo fight that y'all don't know how to score because y'all still running around saying that same shit that y'all heard somebody else say. That Lara won. No, he didn't win a fucking fight. If you get on a stage that big and you fight like that, you fucking deserve to lose. You deserve to lose. Who the fuck do you?
Just like how Oscar De La Hoya did against, Felixito Trinidad.
That's the shit. That's the shit I was about to say.
But at the end of the day, if you're a pure boxer, look what Pernell Whitaker did to Julio Cesar Chavez. Did he run? No, he boxed circles around him, and when he needed to fight Chavez off and step to him, he did. That's a robbery. That's not.
You know what, his defense skills are out of this world, though. I mean, that's a little different because
underrated defense he did.
Yeah, nobody's defense was like Whitaker's. Nobody.
I would say it's more contentious between them than it was. It's more contentious, but that particular instance than Canelo Lara, because I literally saw a guy who was tripping over his own feet trying to move away. Like, you're literally tripping over your own feet trying to move away. You're getting hit with power shots, and all you're really doing is moving away. And this
you got cut too. You did get cut too.
This mindset that, because there's a pure boxer in the ring, they automatically thought that because of Floyd, everybody's Floyd. No, the fuck they're not. That's where all of that came from.
Exactly.
That's where all of that came. Floyd's a pure boxer. Yeah, but Lara ain't Floyd, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It never will.
Now, Julius, I got something to say, and this came to mind in regards to Paul Williams. Before Paul Williams got into that accident where he was paralyzed, he was set to fight Canelo.
Yeah.
Now, how would Williams do against Canelo had that fight happened? Had that accident never happened in the first place?
That's a good fight.
No. Look, being honest with you, right? Like, I hate questions like that because I feel like I'm inadvertently discrediting someone. But I wouldn't be surprised if that fight ended the way the Martinez fight ended. I wouldn't be surprised.
That was one of the biggest knockouts you could ever see.
Yeah, that was a shock.
But I'm gonna ask.
I feel you, but Martinez is a southpaw though, and he's awkward, and his style is completely different from Canelo.
All I'm saying is I wouldn't be surprised if it ended that way.
I mean, either, but
because Paul Williams was a swarmer, like he wasn't the type of guy that used his height.
Now
like, remember you and swarmed you.
Okay, now remember the version of Canelo that you're talking about. You're talking about circa 2013, 2014 Canelo, right? That was a Canelo who thrived off of aggressive opponents. It was boxers that gave him problems. If you try to crowd him, what was he? He was a counterpuncher. because Paul is a swarmer, you're gonna give up your height to the little guy. You and
you're leaving yourself wide open, and you're leaving yourself wide open for Canelo to counter.
That's why I say that. Look, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it worked out like the Martinez fight. You're not gonna box him. You're not gonna stay long and loose and behind a jab. You're gonna try to swarm him. Well, that gives him the chance to counter you. You're giving up your height.
This guy swarmed Antonio Margarito, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So
and before the knockout, Williams had a chin.
Margarito was a counterpuncher.
So I'm agreeing with you. Like when I said he swarmed Margarito. So they're like nigga.
But yeah, Williams before the knockout, he had a hell of a chin. He did.
That's what happens when you get punched in your shit like that, bro.
That's what
I'm
baby. Like, look, I really don't want to denigrate a man who can't, like, I'm not doing that, but I'm just saying that if you ask me and I think about it, what came to mind is, this dude is going to crowd Canelo, and once he crowd him, Canelo going to be able to get off those big body shots. He's going to be able to get up that uppercut. He used to do a thing where he'll take a half step back, then come forward, shoot the upper. I could see him catching Paul with that. Why? Paul going to try to swarm him.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, like I thought it would have been like an entertaining fight till it lasted until Paul got clipped. You know what I'm saying?
I know there's gonna be people probably don't like the idea that I'm saying. That I think Canelo could have got him. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, it could have been eventually.
I could have seen like Paul Williams really overwhelming Canelo too, though. That is a possibility. But Canelo at that time was clipping dudes for overcommitting, just like Paul Williams did. Because it never made sense for me for a guy that tall with the dimensions he had to be in close with that when he could have just kept it outside.
He was one of those. Go ahead, country.
My question is that would Williams' work rate have bothered Canelo though?
Until he gets clipped.
Yeah.
And also got to remember Canelo's stamina at 54 wasn't always that good though. You got to remember.
I'm not doubting none of that, but if history is any indicator of anything, right? Here's what I know, right? Yes, Canelo's stamina at that weight, junior middleweight, it wasn't great. But Paul Williams giving up his height to a counterpuncher, that's not great, bro. You're going to get hit and you're going to get hit hard. Now, what do we know about Canelo? He ended up coming up against the guy who was swarming him. It was more educated, talking about Gennady Golovkin, right? He was able to withstand that. We know Canelo has a world-class chin now. We know that. He's not the greatest guy. He's gone as high up as 175, got outboxed. But did he get knocked down? No. So if I got to go back in time to junior
When's the last time Canelo got knocked down? Probably when he was like a child, wasn't he?
It got to be in the amateurs because he's never been knocked down as a professional.
That's crazy, bro.
That's what I mean. If I got to think about this fantasy joint and I'm like, would Paul have got him? I'm like, look, man.
Paul was never a one-punch knockout artist anyway. He was always an accumulation guy, too.
Paul was not a big mover either. So, and that's Canelo's Achilles heel is movers.
Exactly. Like if we going all the way back to a more greener, more counterpuncher Canelo, because that's what he was in those days. He was more of a counterpuncher. Well, I'm like, if a dude is giving up his height to Canelo and the dude is sitting on his punches and standing on his whole foot, when he land them counters, you're going to get all of it, bro. I'm like, I can see Paul going out. I could see that.
The way Canelo did with Carlos Baldomir, and Carlos Baldomir had an iron chin, and then boom, he got knocked out cold with a fucking left hand counter.
Shout out to Canelo beating up that Chomo scumbag.
Yeah, he was a scumbag. He was slow too.
So now we got next week Devin Haney, George Kambosos, no Bill Haney, no Ben Davison, Vidal Sassoon here. Just I mean, like, who has Kambosos that's in the chat right now? Who has him?
Wait, well, what time is that fight?
I think Yoel Judah is a competent coach. I think Yoel Judah is a very good coach, man. So Yoel Judah is going to be in Devin Haney's camp. My thing is, if Devin Haney made the weight, comfortably, he's supposed to win this fight. If he didn't, he's losing this fight.
Now, members of the panel, whoever's on the panel, just the guys that have George. Who has George? Nobody.
I have a gut feeling that Kambosos might win because hostile territory. Everybody's saying that hey, Devin has to really, really like show up with his A game in order to take it from the judges.
All right, go ahead, Country.
I got Kambosos. I think he can win it. I'm not going to say it's going to be an easy fight, but also too, a lot of things are. I feel that a lot of things are very much stacked against Devin Haney at this point. And if he doesn't put on a really good fight and then convincingly wins, he'll lose. Now, like you said, it's probably going to be a 2-fight affair. So, but and if they have the second fight, if it's still in Australia, he might have problems winning again if he doesn't perform well enough.
I gotta say this. That I feel like I know that I want Devin to win. This is my thing. I know that I want him to win because if he wins, that will set the template moving forward for all the young guys. If he wins, it'll be encouraging. Like, you know what? Take a chance, get on a plane, have a fight. But logically, the amount of things that are working against him is hard. Like, I can't make up my mind right now because I'm like, look, George doesn't have to do much to win rounds in this fight. He don't.
Let's keep it a buck, though. The dude who went through the Ferrari windshield, he had to go to Sheffield to win his first title, bro. So at the end of the day, you good or you're not, because you got to remember.
You're not fighting a dude that's coming off a loss, though. You fighting a dude that's riding high, feeling confident. You know what I'm saying? He busting nuts in his wife and all of that. He happy, fam. You're not fighting.
Let me say this. Let me say this. The guy who
fighting Kell Brook off an ass whooping, because you brought up Sheffield. This is not Kell Brook off an ass whooping. This is.
I should have brought up Kell Brook. The guy who got his orbital bone broke twice in both of his eyes came to America to fight Sean Porter, right? And hey, at the end of the day, it was a tough fight. But hey, if you really that dude, you have to go. You might have to go someplace. Like Marvin Hagler had to go to fight Alan Minter in London in a very racist climate, man. But like, bro, we know you can't make 35 like that. Hey, you could have went up to 140. You gonna have to do what you have to do.
Here's another thing that bugs me though too, is that Haney's talking about moving up. So I mean, right after this fight. So I mean, if he does win, it's kind of pointless in some ways because he's
not really. Not really. See, I like that you brought that up because that addresses my concerns that he's saying that. What's going on in camp that this is what you're talking about? What's going on, making the weight that this is what you're talking about in the buildup of the fight?
If you win,
we see a kid that is disciplined, but he just outgrew the weight.
You're not going to talk about moving up to a higher weight if you're going to win all the belts at that weight.
No, in other words, we feel because Devin Haney has never missed weight. He hasn't. He makes the weight. He's a consummate professional. But I think everybody on the panel feels that, this kid's big for lightweight, and he's probably been struggling to make it. And I feel like what he's saying is an indication of that why ahead of an undisputed lightweight title fight, you're talking about moving up immediately after. What's going on right now that you're saying that? Are you struggling?
And for a talented kid who used to knock people out at this weight when he made weight comfortably, like, you don't want to handicap yourself, bro, because ultimately we seen you get hit by hard shots, and we seen you when people hit you, that you don't look good at this weight. Maybe
what if all the Australian spirits and of all the kangaroos that ever died and all the quokkas and koala bears that ever ate a leaf, right? All the Ebony Bridges photos, just everything, all the powers of Australia converge at Marvel Stadium, and they enter George's fist, bro.
Yo, guys.
Yeah, you're a sick nigga, B. You're a really sick nigga, B.
I'm just saying, man, it's a lot of quokkas on that island, bro. You know what a quokka is? You ever seen that shit? I watched one of them shits eat a leaf.
Yo, bro. Yeah, bro, pull it up, and show me what a quokka is.
I want somebody.
Let me say something. Yeah,
creatures, man.
I got something.
All right, go ahead, bro.
Oh, the bot's back.
The way it was like when Devin Haney got buzzed by that right hand by Linares, it made me think to myself, like, okay, what if what would happen if he took the right hand from Kambosos, the same right hand that Kambosos dropped Teofimo in that fight?
We understand Teofimo was walking into that shot, and pound for pound, Linares hits harder than Kambosos. So
yeah,
Devin Haney gets.
Wait a motherfucking minute. You telling me that if George Cambodia hit Devin, if George Cambodia hit Devin and landed the way he hit Lopez, Devin don't go out?
I don't think.
I think it would. I don't know. Because they struggling. Because Haney has been struggling to make lightweight. So guess what? You're depleting yourself, and to the point that like your punch resistance is compromised in some way.
He also gets hit with right hands a lot. If you really watch a lot of his old fights, he does get hit with right hands, straight rights a lot.
Yeah, but George ain't exactly a puncher though either, you know.
But he did land that shot on. He did land that shot on that emotionally compromised guy from New York that was sleeping under a rock. So
but like he's like, of course, Kambosos ain't no puncher, but he's definitely not pillow fisted. So you know what I mean?
Who's that supposed to represent?
I'm trying to tell y'all. If all the spirits, that's the Quokka. There's an island off the west coast. There's an island off the west coast of Australia called Rotten Island, right? They got these little things called Quokkas, right? They're the cutest, fucking, happiest fucking things on the planet, right? And they eat fucking leaves. And what I'm trying to tell you is, if all the spirits of all the Quokkas,
is this a Capricorn in you to find out random shit?
Yes, all the kangaroos that ever died in the outback, and all the snakes, and all the eagles, and all the koala bears, and all the
How about the Tasmanian devils and
all that
glorified rats, man? That shit is just a big ass rat.
Of all the brown recluse spiders that ever bit a motherfucker in the ankle, right?
They got worse than brown recluse in Australia, man.
The funnel web, that big ass black spider, that'll kill you.
Listen, all the funnel cake spiders that ever bit somebody in Australia.
The funnel cake spiders. Yo, bro, the spiders in Australia, bro. Yo, one of them, they bite, like there was a brown spider. If they bite your hand, and if you don't get medical attention ASAP, yo, your hand can fall off, bro. I'm not even going to Australia, bro. Like I would never want to go there.
Spider. Well, I'll tell you this, yo. I would never go to Australia because a lot of the deadliest, poisonous animals in the world is in Australia. 10 of the most venomous snakes are in Australia.
But you don't even got to say that, man. Just think about the fact you wake up and in the morning you see a goddamn kangaroo that's that's jacked as shit
and
staring at you.
Talks with you.
Of course, I'm just trying to tell y'all that look, I would love for Devin to win the fight, but right now I do have my doubts. We're a week out from the fight. The fucking fight is next week. I mean, it's no next Saturday. We're only a week out from the fight, and I'm still like, yo, look, I would love for Devin to win this fucking fight, but if we gonna call it, I don't know if he wins this fucking fight.
Well,
exactly.
I actually saw a video of a kangaroo that squared up with a dude, and the dude punched the kangaroo in the face, and it like backed off, but it wanted to actually like fight with him.
It's fucking kangaroos about the action.
I'm telling you right now, man. Kambosos is training by fighting kangaroos, bro.
Yep.
What if a kangaroo stretches out Kambosos a week before the fight, bro? Like, what would you say?
Let me tell you,
I'm gonna say he's got balls to challenge a kangaroo.
Hey, let me tell you, the kangaroo was yoked too, man. It had buffed arms and a buff chest. I mean, that was.
I remember what you're talking about. I remember.
Let me read the super chat. George Williams says, "For all the now extinct Tasmanian tigers."
Yeah,
I'm just trying. I'm just telling them. Listen, them Australian motherfuckers, man. They some tough motherfuckers, man. That's all I'm saying. And George is not where Brooke was when he fought Spence. He's riding high. I'm of the opinion that when a fighter does what George did, right? To Teofimo, He's fighting Devin, so I feel like we're going to see a George that may be even better than the George we saw with Teofimo. He doesn't have to worry about Devin knocking him out. Devin couldn't knock out Linares.
Yeah.
But I still don't think that he would be able to land that same right hand that you're saying, because you got to remember that Teo not only came into the punch, but he was also in the middle of swinging when that punch landed on him.
No, I agree. He doesn't land that particular punch because Lopez was throwing stupid punches. That's the other half of that punch. That Lopez came out like he trying to go home now. Like you just throwing all type of dumbass punches.
Yeah, it was being reckless. Yeah.
Devin will be more responsible, but more durable. I don't think so.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Could he land a punch like Linares did though? In that 11th round.
But you have.
Well, let's look at it from this perspective, right? George Kambosos not the biggest puncher. Devin Haney does get hit hard, does get hit occasionally from time to time, and this is a guy that couldn't knock out Gamboa. He couldn't knock out Linares, both chinny guys. But the thing is with Devin Haney. Devin Haney does throw accurate, sharp punches that do land, and he does have good defense for the most part. And this is the intriguing part of it. If Devin Haney gets hit with something, can he hold on, or can he be as durable as Teofimo?
This is where the Australian spirits. This is where the Australian spirits by the hair on George on Jeff Fennick's knuckles, bro. That's when the powers is going to hit George. His hair going.
Yo, you need real help, bro. Like, you ever thought about therapy, B?
I'm just saying,
therapy is needed because the hair of Jeff Fennick's knuckles is hilarious.
Hair on his knuckles by the ponytail of Costi Azul, that low ass ponytail he had, bro. Georgia get the Australian.
Yo, the Costi Azul's son, the southpaw, he kind of nice, bro.
You talking about Nikita, right?
Yeah, he kind of nice, bro.
Nikita's a bad dude. People have told me that when those two boys was coming up, right, Nikita and Tim. Nikita was looked at as like, yo, that's a bad. Like they was, in other words, Nikita might be better than Tim. That's what I was told.
But Nikita wanted to get an education, fucking nerd.
He got that? No, but he got that education, and now he back to beating the shit out of people, though.
Well, wait, he's a nerd ass nigga, though. Look at him.
Like Dexter. He looked like Dexter and Tom Holland if they had a baby.
What?
That's super sweet. Like that's OG.
Don't fucking believe me. I'm about to pull a picture up.
No, I believe you. Somebody in the comments said Haney an informant. I was like, what?
An informant.
Oh, Haney ratting on niggas? Let me find out Devin Haney snitching on niggas. Let me find out.
His screen name is Devin Haney or snitches.
A few days after Cambodia.
Where the paperwork? Where his paperwork at? He ratting? I want to see the court minutes. I want to see the trial minutes. Stop playing with me.
But you guys have to also remember that when Devin got hit by Linares, you got to give Linares the credit he deserves. He did time Haney. He didn't get caught. Yes, he did. He didn't get caught walking in. He got timed.
Well, let's just say this, right? All right. Devin Haney has to know you're going into hostile territory. Is it your plan to fight this fight on your back foot? Because you're not going to win doing that. Your plan. Now, let me keep going. Is it your plan to take the fight to George? Because if it's your plan to take the fight to George, then he could get off some of those punches. See, when I think about what's going through Devin's mind, what's the plan of action? Is he going to take the fight to George or is he going to box George? Well, if you box George, you run the risk of losing a decision because he might outwork you. If you plan to take the fight to George, you're susceptible to his power. Not that he's a huge power puncher, but he doesn't need to be to hurt you. You're chinny.
I think what was that pick you were going to show us?
Especially if there are any swing rounds in the fight, they're going to give it to Kambosos being the home fighter that he is. You know what I'm saying?
But if you're a very smart man, which I do believe Devin is a smart man, I would do both. I would counterpunch him, and I would keep him on in the mid. I would keep him mid-range all fight, and I'd counterpunch every time he tried to show something big.
I hope Devin Haney had a good nutritionist that could probably keep him some semblance of strength in him at 35. Because to be quite honest with you, man, seeing him at 35, it's like it was similar to how Josh Taylor when he fought Jack Catterall, and he didn't look bad. So I hope he doesn't look like that guard.
I think that he might be that bad, but there is one saving grace, and that's his height. If he doesn't have to hurt him, he just has to push him back. He just has to get those scoring shots. And if he is able to actually get that knockout blow, he better get it, because I don't think it lasts 12.
But don't you feel that there's a little bit of ego attached to this conversation, that we think that the only talented fighter in the fight is Devin?
No. I mean,
bro, let's keep it a buck. Can we keep it a buck, guys? Oh, motherfucker! You
were right. You were right. He does look like Tom Holland and that other dude.
He looks like Tom Holland and the guy from Dexter.
But hey, guys!
Nikita looks very young.
To answer your question, Teofimo was at the worst physical possible way at him, and mind you, in the 10th round, he did get dropped. This is hilarious.
And then the fights before that were split decisions too. I don't even know who were they. Lee Shelby.
So can I ask you a question? Because you said Teofimo was at his worst possible position. Fine. Do you not give him any credit for beating Lomachenko because he had a messed up shoulder?
Yeah.
I give him all the credit for that one, honestly.
I give him all the credit for beating. I give him all the credit for beating Lomachenko.
Teofimo had a broken foot against Loma. So
he did not have a broken foot against Loma.
But you can't. So then you can't give one the credit for fighting a fighter that's not at 100.
I'm with you on that.
Hey, but I was saying, in terms of what Jules was saying in terms of talent.
Let me champ the shit, all right? Because this is the truth. If you're going to give Teofimo credit for fighting a Lomachenko with an injured shoulder, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that, you know what I mean? I give Teofimo credit the same way I give George credit for fighting Teofimo.
I give George credit, but to answer the question in terms of talent, you got to understand this. This guy who was dumb enough to get punched by, that dude from Game of Thrones and have all that air in his chest was still able to knock this guy down in the 10th round, right? So at the end of the day, George is very vulnerable. Let's not act like this guy is super slippery. Let's not act like this guy is something super duper special. He's just in an advantageous position now because let's look at it. Devin Haney can't really make weight. Teofimo can't make weight. That's not George Kambosos' fault. So at the end of the day, sometimes the cards fall in favor for certain people as opposed to others. But in terms of talent, pound for pound, Devin Haney is stratospheres better than him. Do you think Devin Haney would have had trouble against Lee Selby? No. Do you think Devin Haney would have had trouble against Mickey Bay, his trainer? No. I'm just saying this in terms of talent. That's why I brought that up. And I'm not discrediting George Kambosos for winning that fight. He won that fight fair and square. But in terms of talent,
it sounds to me like
yo, you sick nigga, Jules. What is wrong with
you? That bodied Steve Irwin.
I wanted to make the most Australian poster that has ever been made, and I think I succeeded. That's all I'm saying.
You got an Aborigine in the back and a kangaroo, and you pretty much summarized Australia.
Yeah. You got Tank Davis on the pole and Ebony Bridges.
I got this boomerang. I added a boomerang.
So you call Tank Davis the koala?
There's a quokka on the top left. There's a quokka on the top left. The koala next to Ebony. There's a boomerang there, right? There's Crocodile Dundee in the middle. He's gonna ref the fight. He's gonna be the official referee, Paul Hogan.
And there's a deer.
And that's a kangaroo, fam.
What's in between? What's in between the koala and Ebony?
A dick.
I'm just
kangaroo. Hey, I got a question for you guys. For real, I got a question for you guys. What do you guys?
You a sick dude.
Calling out Tank at 140.
Huh?
What do you guys think about Tio calling out Tank at 140?
That's what
I
I was
think
trying to
Tio
tell
actually
you,
wins that
Julius.
fight,
What I was
It's not
trying to
gonna
tell
happen.
you.
Bro, you know what
Not
it
gonna
is?
happen.
Look, being real, look, we got to keep the same energy across the board when it, because we do it with PBC fighters all the time, right? When they want promotion by way of name association. If I see Teofimo calling out Gervonta Davis for a fight at 140, you a clout chaser.
Yeah.
Simple as.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Simple as that.
I just wanted opinions. That's all.
Because you know where he at. You know who promotes him. All right. You don't have nothing for him to win. You don't. What the fuck do you have at 140 pounds that he needs? Nothing.
Oh,
Nothing.
hey, Jules, you're missing one thing on that poster, and what you call it? Don't ask me. Actually, said it. A didgeridoo.
Oh, I know, but
the wooden one that goes.
I know a didgeridoo. Bro, trust me, I'm hip to all the Australian fly shit. I want to go there. It's a beautiful country. I want to go there. It's a beautiful country.
But yo, can you bring up that poster again?
All right, let me pull that up. It's one of the most Australian posters that have ever been posted.
But yo, bro, in between, not the penis, in between Ebony and that koala.
That's a kangaroo.
That's a kangaroo.
Yeah,
bro, that's a rabbit. What the fuck are y'all talking about? That's a rabbit.
No, that's a kangaroo.
Stop playing with me, bro. That looks like a deer.
My
you
God,
can't tell me that don't look like a deer.
That's a kangaroo.
My God, that's a
kangaroo, man.
That is not a kangaroo, fam. That's a quail.
Zoom in.
You got the Sydney Opera House over there between Ebony and the koala.
Bro, that's not the Sydney Opera House. That's a movie theater.
Blow it up.
A movie theater?
A movie theater. They show pornographic movies in that theater.
Yo, you need help, bro. You gotta stop this. You got kids in the other room, B.
They play nothing but Violet Myers movies in that theater, bro.
Hey,
Jesus Christ, man.
I'm telling you, that's a kangaroo, bro.
It's not a fucking kangaroo. That's a deer.
It is. It's a kangaroo.
Why y'all arguing with me, dog? That's a deer.
Blow it up, man. Blow it up.
I'm just
I don't know. I see a kangaroo,
bro.
Yeah, I feel like a Dominican deer.
Okay, in a way, Donaire 2. A few days after that, what are your predictions?
I mean, like that. Look, I love the fight because I feel that Donaire, look, let me say this. I feel like Donaire is legitimately coming to win. That's the mindset that he has, that he's not just here as a challenger, here to get a check. I genuinely believe that he feels he can win, which makes for an interesting fight. But this fight, unlike the first fight, I think he's going to get stopped.
What if Donaire Darchinians are new way? What if Donaire Darchinians are new way? What would you put him in the all-time great status in terms of, you know?
Like this dude, he don't get enough credit. That's why I'm like the pundit. Look, when I think of a guy like Donaire, right? That's the reason that for years I never did a pound for pound list. Like, believe it or not, pound for pound lists are a recent development for me because I never went by them and I never followed them because of stupid shit like that. Like in Donaire, you have a guy who already beat, I'm gonna say 5 world champions and took their belts. He's been a champion at 4 weights. Does ESPN rank him? No. Does
Fury, though.
Right? Does TBRB rank him? No.
Bullshit. Yeah, you're right, bro. You're right, because from flyweight, super flyweight, bantamweight, and super bantamweight, that dude's been giving niggas the blues for years.
Now.
He's one of the most
hold on, everybody, chill out. Now, peep how fucking twisted the media is. Gervonta Davis fights a fucking nobody, a guy that sucks. He sucks so bad
He's
that
so ass.
Right? Like, right? But it's a fact that Donaire in his last 2 fights, he took an unbeaten champion and wiped his fucking ass with him. Wiped his whole ass.
Yep, Nordino Bali.
When he fought Raymond Gaballo, I could tell you right now, Gervonta Davis had a harder time with Rolly than he had with Gaballo. Gaballo was an unbeaten guy, never lost a fight. And all I'm saying is, how am I supposed to take periodicals seriously or punditry seriously when you got a guy as accomplished as Donaire, and instead of him getting the shine, no, you got fucking Fury who just said he retired on the pound for pound list. You got motherfuckers talking about some Gervonta Davis. He not no 4-weight champion.
And mind you, you got to remember, this is a guy who started his career probably 108, 112, went all the way up in weight to fight Guillermo Rigondeaux and Nicholas Walters. Let's look at this guy's resume. Him not being on the pound for pound list is blasphemy. Like, let's look at it. Jermell Charlo lost to a guy that, you know, is a seedy character in John Jackson. Let's keep it a buck. And he's pound for pound? Let's really keep it a buck, man.
Wait. Well, let me say, it's not that Jermell ain't pound for pound, but like, let me give you an example. Ring Magazine and ESPN, I believe they both have Juan Estrada. Juan ain't fought since the last Chocolatito fight, fam. Why the fuck is he there? He literally hasn't fought in like damn near some shit. Why is he
and
there?
he didn't really even beat Chocolatito like that.
That's the other shit. But Donaire, who's a 4-weight champion already, beat 5 world champions already. His last 2 fights look like a goddamn animal in there. Goddamn animal. He don't he don't get a spot. This is why
and kind of fat too. He was a fat animal. Like
let me ask every single one of you this. Have you ever seen a 41-year-old man knock out another young man in his 20s with over 20 knockouts, undefeated?
No.
You don't see that, especially for a guy that light, man. But like, yo, bro, I'm telling you, it was always a banana skin.
Ain't going front. Well, he ain't knocked Ray out, but he beat him. He appointed him. I was gonna say Larry Holmes and Ray Mercer after the Morrison fight. Larry did school Ray, but he didn't knock him out.
No, he didn't. No,
I think it comes down to bantamweight not being that popular of a division. I guess that's why people don't put him on.
But this is an original weight class of boxing, though.
The point of a pound for pound list, or the point that the reason it was made is to shed light on the smaller weights, not to cater to popular fighters, but that's what they're doing. They're using
the non-heavyweights. Non-heavyweights.
They're using the list as a marketing tool to cater to fighters that are already popular, when the idea is you shed light on fighters with the list, not cater to popular fighters. Why the fuck is Tyson Fury in there? What fucking sense does that make?
Who's above a heavyweight? Somebody here tell me who is above a heavyweight champion. I will pay somebody to tell me who is better than Joshua.
Godzilla.
Nobody.
Godzilla.
I don't care how, bro. I don't care how any of you feel.
King Kong and not Luis Ortiz.
Alonzo Harris. Hey, Alonzo Harris from Training Day.
You tell me Lomachenko beats Anthony Joshua. I'll put money on the table. That will never happen.
That might happen, in a few years.
The Muni kids can give Anthony Joshua a run for his money.
No, I mean, look. The idea is and it's a simple idea. Like, it's really not complex. People make it complex because they don't want to accept what the list is doing. That a smaller fighter, even if he were to lose to a bigger fighter, that doesn't mean he's not more skilled. That just means he's smaller. So what the list attempts to do is even the playing field, boil it down to skill and take away the size. Who's the better boxer? Now, different people, they arrive at that conclusion in different ways. Like myself, I look at the resume, the quality of competition, the title defenses, the titles you unified, etc., as the year mark for what your skills are. Because what people like to do when it comes to boxing skill, they try to make it seem like it's ethereal when it's not. There is such a thing as a proper jab and a lazy jab. And if you don't know the fucking difference, don't even worry about pound for pound. There is a difference between a proper jab and a lazy jab. And if you need me
the lazy jab is when you get over, when they counter your shit and your jaw broke.
Well, what makes the lazy jab a lazy jab is you're not getting that hand back to the side of your face fast enough to protect yourself. Rolly throws lazy jabs. That's what he throws, lazy jabs. But that's, neither here nor there. The basic idea is that skills are measurable. Skills are just as tangible as everything else. And those skills can be measured by what you've been doing. So if you're fighting top tens and you're unifying titles and you're moving up in weight, becoming a multi-weight champion, maybe an undisputed champion, your skills are measurable. That's how I do it, you know what I mean? Whereas these guys treat it as Fury knocks out Dillian White. And I just have a question. If Anthony Joshua wasn't pound for pound for knocking Dillian White in 2015, how is Fury pound for pound for knocking him out here today?
Plus, because Fury does coke and white people like coke.
I'm just saying that there's things about the way that they do it, and when you press them about it, you're gonna notice, because you can press these guys about it, and they're eventually gonna retreat into their opinions. When it's simple, bro, it is simple. Fury is the guy that you measure. I would say right now, Fury is that quintessential heavyweight that you're measuring the smaller guys against. So you don't put Fury on the list. If Fury is today's number one heavyweight, no, he doesn't belong on the list. You measure the little guys against him and say, okay, let's say that your number one pound for pound fighter is Crawford, right? What you're essentially asking is, if you had a heavyweight version of Crawford that fights like Crawford, would he beat Fury?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yes, he was.
That's literally what you're doing.
The only exception is Usyk, because he was a champion in a lower weight. That's it.
And based on my list, for example, like I've got Usyk right now as the number one guy, right? And the beauty of Usyk is, and I don't even know if he's ever going to get the opportunity, is, all right, I got Usyk as the number one guy. If Usyk were to fight Fury and beat him, right, that would be the most literal incarnation of a pound-for-pound fighter short of Roy Jones Jr. We all know Roy started at junior middle. He showed I could go up to heavy and beat motherfuckers, not on size, on skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Usyk, it's the same shit. Like, this is not a big heavyweight for today's era of heavyweights. He's only 6'3". The average guy in today's heavyweight division is about 6'6", 6'7". Your Jalalov, your Arslanbek Makhmudov, your Joe Joyce, your Anthony Joshua, your Tyson Fury. If he can beat a guy like Fury, who's obviously bigger than him, he's obviously a natural heavyweight as opposed to Usyk, who moved up, he would be literally the number one pound for pound fighter on the planet.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yep.
With other guys, and I've said this before, with other guys like Canelo and Crawford, it's figurative. We know they're not going to heavyweight. We know that. With Usyk, it's actually literal. Yes, this is a naturally smaller man who moved up to heavyweight and on skill became heavyweight champion. Not size. He's not bigger than Anthony Joshua. He doesn't punch harder than Anthony Joshua. He don't have size over him. You know how he won? Skill.
Yep.
Yo, can I say something? Can I say this about the Devin fight?
Good.
It really comes down to how much do we trust Devin's chin. And this guy got hurt by Jojo Diaz. That says it all, to be honest. Like, I mean, he's gonna do great from round 1 to 9, and then he's gonna get caught. That's just how I see it. He doesn't recover this time.
I mean, what the thing is that I see a lot of people talk about this fight with conviction when I don't have a horse in the race. If Devin wins, I'm happy for him. If George wins, I'm happy for him and the Australian fight fans, because he just made history for them in the 4-belt era. I don't have a horse in the race. But the conviction is what kills me, that you don't think Devin can lose, really? I think he can. You know, like I think he can't. Like, I don't. He get hit wrong.
I'm honestly rooting for both of them.
What to say about the George Kambosos versus Devin Haney? I have saw George Kambosos fights, and this guy is good, he's skilled, and he's mean. He's actually he has a dog in him, but this guy is a boxer puncher. He's a true boxer puncher.
Mm-hmm.
So, a couple of lives ago, we talked about George Kambosos has to apply pressure on Devin Haney. For me, it's not that simple. I don't think where you talk about the 3 styles: the boxer puncher, the pure boxer, and the pressure guy. I don't think most of the guys can jump from style and to a style that easily. You need a special kind of fighter. Jojo Diaz in the fight with Devin Haney, he tried. He tried to be a pressure fighter. He tried to crowd him. He tried to go in a hard guard and try to nail Devin Haney. He succeeded? Not really. Okay? So I think George Kambosos has everything in his favor. I don't know.
Whose mic was that? Go ahead, Leo.
I think that George Kambosos has everything on his favor, but in terms of boxing ability, I have seen Devin Haney make mistakes, but I haven't seen it like being really outboxed or really having troubles against other guys in the middle range. George Kambosos for the time.
Let me address this what is this? Bill Haney is.
Yeah, I think he's just a troll. I don't know.
Yeah, I just want to hurt his feelings. I just want to hurt his feelings because I already see that he's a Tyson Fury fanboy. And the basic shit is wait, one at a time. Beating Dillian White is never gonna make you a pound for pound fighter. You know, like it's not. And if you're too stupid to understand that career heavyweights don't belong on pound for pound list, why the fuck are you on this channel?
Yeah.
Like that shit. That's not something that I made up when it comes to my list. That's in general. Like, no, that list is not for big men. That list is for little men, not big men. It's not for Fury. And as soon as you hear that, you get in your titties about it. I didn't think that Joshua was pound for knocking out White. I didn't think Povetkin was pound for knocking out White. But when it come to Fury, you want to get in your fucking feelings. Did you rank Povetkin? Yeah. Did you rank Povetkin as pound for pound when he knocked out Fury?
No, he did not.
Yeah. Like what? Several years ago, you know, I would like look up Wikipedia. You know, I Wikipedia'd like the top 10 pound for pound according to Ring Magazine, and they had Vladimir on there. I'm like, why?
And he didn't belong on there. This is why. Now, let me iterate this point. This is why for years I always thought that pound for pound was stupid, and I did a little bit of research to understand why people always. Because I used to just watch boxing. I didn't used to talk about pound for pound. I used to watch, and I would hear people talk about it. I'm like, what the fuck is they talking? And I'm like, now I get it. In other words, 115 pounds of Chocolatito is more skilled than 147 pounds of Blair Cobbs. Now I understand it. Like, yeah, that's true. He is a better boxer than Blair Cobbs. He's just smaller, you know, but he is a better boxer than Blair Cobbs. And with Inoue, 118 pounds of Inoue is more skilled than, say, 154 pounds of Magomed Kurbanov. Even though Magomed is bigger, that doesn't make him better. He's certainly not more decorated. He's not a better boxer. You got a gift over Liam Smith, bro. You know what I mean? You're not a better boxer. You're a bigger boxer, but not better. So that's the basic concept. That's basically what it is. You look at a guy like Crawford, and you say, well, 147 pounds of Crawford is more skilled than 200 pounds of Alen Babic. Yeah. He is more skilled than Alen Babic.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because somebody like Babic only fights one way, whereas Crawford, in a way, they're like talented all around.
Yeah, like, you know, that's basically what you're saying. You look at the fighter and you say that this smaller fighter, in spite of being smaller, he might very well lose to the bigger fighter, but not because he's a better fighter, only because he's a bigger fighter. So even the playing field, make them the same size, acknowledging the skills, and then what's the answer? You get that, yeah, if this guy was the same size as this guy, he'd beat this guy, because that's what it was about with Sugar Ray Robinson. Yeah, he's a middleweight, or he was a welterweight, then moved up to middleweight, but he was a better fighter than a lot of the heavyweights. That's what they were trying to say, that just because he's smaller, that don't mean he's not better. Like, nah, he's better. He's a bad dude.
Can I add on to that?
Because it's not just one thing that Sugar Ray Robinson did good. He did everything good.
I get.
So to add on to what you were saying, don't forget, a couple of months ago, man, Dillian White was ass. Remember, everyone said he's garbage. He doesn't deserve shit.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to that mentality?
The Fury fans, they said that he's just a piece of shit. So why does beating him get all this praise?
I mean, shit, same with Deontay Wilder. Fuck, it came out of the horse's own mouth, man. Deontay Wilder's a one-trick pony, and then afterwards, he's the toughest fight. He's the second best in the heavyweight division.
No, they do that with everybody. They do that with everybody that Fury fights. You know, like look at how that Otto Valine, that tribulation with Otto, look at how that's aging. And I maintained that I saw Otto, you know, before the Fury fight, and that must have just been a once-in-a-lifetime performance that he put on, because he didn't used to look like that. I know that. He didn't look like that before the fight, so aggressive and applying pressure. He was more of a boxer. And then after that, you see now that you're not getting those. He not performing the way he did with Fury. He just fought Rydell Booker to a decision. Pulev stopped Booker. Pulev stopped Rydell Booker.
Pound for pound number one?
You know what I'm saying? It's like Fury fans, that's another delusional set of fight fans that make it annoying to talk about Fury. They make it annoying.
Bro, they're the Gervonta Tank Davis fans on steroids. It all makes sense.
Basically.
You can't talk about heavyweights if I'm bringing up Fury, man. Oh, well, Usyk and Joshua, but yeah, but Fury's over here. He's doing this.
Yeah, like with Fury, it's like, yo, y'all said that Wilder, and I saw all of it, which is why it kills me when they try to go over history. That look, y'all said that Wilder ain't shit. Y'all said that. Y'all said that White ain't shit, not me. Y'all said that he ain't shit. So then, how the fuck does beating some ain't shit motherfuckers make you pound for pound? How?
It's like, make up your fucking mind.
My favorite is like, oh, he's 6'9", but he moves like a lightweight. All this stupid shit.
Yeah, move like a fucking tank, hit like an artillery weapon.
Yo, all I'm saying is they just really what that is. They just want to suck his fucking dick, bro. That's what it's always been. They would kill to suck Fury's. You see? You see? You fucking! I told. That's what they want. Like it's this weird shit.
That was perfect timing.
They just like, yo, that dude, Bill and that dude just want to suck Fury's balls, bro. That's all that shit is.
If there was ever a time to be quiet, man, you should have just taken it.
You know what I'm saying? Like if AJ loses to Usyk, right? I ain't gonna fall apart. All right, let's go, Usyk. Let's get some undisputed popping. No horse in the race. I will admit that I would prefer Anthony Joshua wins, but it ain't the end of the world. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Boxing, bro. These dudes have turned Tyson Fury into a religion. Like
King
bro.
Fury.
Well, dude says he's not a Fury fan.
Yeah, they all say that shit.
I'm
not even a Fury fan.
It's a cover up. It's a cover up.
No accountability to say that.
The one thing I gotta say though is, even though White didn't do good in the fight and all that, it sucks the way they did him.
No, look, he got his ass beat, right? But you got to keep the same energy. If you said ahead of the fight, right, that White is a piece of shit and he ain't gonna do shit, right? He doesn't suddenly become credible afterwards. Not if you're the guy that said that he's just a piece of shit. Then how the fuck does beating a piece of shit make you the best guy in the world?
Hey,
it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. Like you beat White after Joshua knocked him out, after Povetkin. That's the White that you got, the one that they knocked out already. So how the fuck we gonna give you more credit for knocking out White than them when they did it first?
Okay.
And he did it the same way.
Let me say this. Dillian White is a credible win for a champion like Tyson Fury. Okay? Can we say that? Dillian White is a veteran, has a lot of fights against top opposition. But if you look these guys, if you look Fury's resume, there should be a ton of guys like Fury at this point.
I agree.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of guys you can fight, and you haven't fought any of those guys. So it's good, but it lacks something. It lacks a lot, really.
I mean, like to the point that Leo is making, that there should be more Dillian Whites in there, right? That's the point that I always try to make. That look, I said that like for me, yes, White is a credible win. Why wouldn't he be? He's a credible win. But if for those guys that said that White is just a piece of shit and he's just a piece of shit, right? Well, you can't turn around and give him credibility after that, because you just spent all these weeks and months saying he's a piece of shit. So then, so let him stay a piece of shit.
It's like which one is it? You know what I'm saying? It's like, pick.
Yeah, like you gotta make up your fucking mind, bro. Like, what, you giving him super duper massive credit? Like the day of the fight, you know, the Fury fanboys, they had a fucking orgasm because he knocked out Dillian, right? And that's dope. Like, cheer your man on, but y'all don't keep the same energy. Y'all said he's a piece of shit. So you can't act like he's credible when you've been acting like he's just a piece of shit. See, I could treat him like he's a credible scalp because I've been saying, yeah, he's a credible guy. Dillian White is top 10 in the division. He is credible. It is a credible scalp. Fury's problem is, as long as you've been in the game, since 2008, just like Wilder, you should have a bunch of Dillian Whites, a bunch of guys like that. We should see Pulevs and Povetkins, and we should see all that on your shit, because you've been around longer than Anthony Joshua. But we don't see that on your shit. Your resume is 3 wins: Wilder, Klitschko, and I guess White. Oh, and Chisora. I give him credit for Chisora. I do give him credit for Chisora.
Yeah, but coming again on this point that I made before in another live, is okay. It's on Tyson Fury, yes, but it's also in the WBC in esa mierda the rankings that they have.
Yeah,
they have so much shit is going on, and it's not going on in that rankings. Look, I don't know if you guys agree, but I didn't want to see the third Wilder fight.
No, me neither. I didn't.
No.
I said there was no point.
What do you guys think? It was a foregone conclusion.
I would have preferred that Fury fought, I don't know, a Joe Joyce, Daniel Dubois, another up and comer, maybe, or the fight with Joshua. If Joshua fight wasn't possible, but at third, what I already saw that. Why are you not giving me more fight? And these guys want to all of you guys, to like this guy that doesn't fight the fight that we want to see.
Exactly. First, let me read these two super chats. Jules is back. Link me because I got a source for who said Devin is taking $5 million. Let me put a link in the joint. Even though I'm about to shut it down in a few, but put a link in the joint.
$5 says he doesn't jump in.
All right, and let me read this one. Tank should have said Fury is the bigger me. Yeah, that'd have been fucking funny. What I'm saying, I'm with Leo on what he says that and literally I said it live that there's no point in the third fight. The only difference between the second fight and the third fight is going to be that Mark is not going to be there to pull him out. That'll be the only difference. You want to go out on your shield, you will. It's on camera. It's literally on camera. I'm like, bro, I didn't see a point in the third fight, but motherfuckers acting like that was really Bo versus Holyfield. Like, no, it ain't. Wilder got his ass beat most of the last two fights. That shit was not competitive. The third one, he scored two knockdowns, right? And the rest of the time is him just getting beat the fuck up. That's it.
They could have stopped that fight earlier. Honestly.
Oh yeah.
You had a better corner.
What's up, y'all?
Real quick, you guys touched on how like the WBC is a joke. What do you guys think is the most credible governing body?
Really, the IBF and even IBF, but even they're losing credibility because think about it like this: Errol Spence has not satisfied a mandatory for them since Carlos Ocampo. That was over 3 years ago. Now you got a mandatory waiting right now in Jaron Boots Ennis. Have they ordered that fight?
And then I could just add the WBO recently came out and said that when Canelo fought Plant, that was the mandatory. So Canelo don't got to defend that belt from 18 months from that day.
The motherfuckers' feelings is hurt. They mad that Cash Money Canelo doing Cash Money Canelo things.
I don't know if y'all heard earlier. This space we was on Twitter was hilarious because Jules was letting this guy try to make his point. You know, whatever dumb logic he had of talking about nobody wants to make the fights because there's not enough money in it. And Jules calmly says, well, Eddie Hearn could pay for all those fights. And PBC guys will get money and the promoters will get their percentages.
Yeah, I mean, he left. As I was saying that part of it, right? As I was saying that part of it, that was when Chan told me that he left. And I'm like, look, we arguing on the premise that either Showtime does the fight or there is no fight, when Matchroom always had the money to do that fight. If Leonard don't have it, okay, cool, Leonard, then don't do the fight. Eddie got the money. He could have did that fight. He could have did all them shits. Andre, Charlo, Davis, Farmer, Davis, Haney. He had the money for all that shit. And what were you guys saying? Oh, he the cat. He ain't all right, that motherfucker. Then you don't want to see the fight. 1 minute you're telling people that you're just a boxing fan and you don't care about the business, but you justify Davis not fighting these people with what? With the business. It can't be both. If you don't care about money and all this extra shit, right? You don't care about none of that. Then you should have been advocating that Gervonta Davis go to the zone for just one fight. No multi-fight deal, just one fight. It's just like Jose Ramirez did. Just one fight. One unification match. Now, you rather argue about business and ticket sales. That's all you want to hear about.
They're constantly flip-flopping.
Yeah, Leonard Ellerby says that a lot. Like, the fights we think are big aren't that big. Well, then let them take the loss then.
But a Rolly Romero, exactly right. Like if the I couldn't have said it better myself. If the fights that we think is not that big, cool, then don't pay for it. Let Eddie pay for it. It's not that big, right? Let him pay for it. Let him take the L.
And Jules, don't you still get a cut if you let Eddie do the fight, and you don't have the operational cost to lose money?
You get a surplus, like you get a surplus because you're gonna get your cut without having to put out any cash, just like Bob did when Triller won the rights, and then when the rights went to Matchroom. Top Rank gets a cut at no cost to them because they're not the ones doing the fight. They're not the ones spending any money to do it. So that's pure profit. That cut is pure profit.
Okay.
Why wouldn't you do the fight?
About that, there is a reason why most of these promotional companies don't want to have a deal with Matchroom. And the reason for me is simple. If you have all these guys that want more money going to Matchroom, suddenly you're going to have a lot of these guys going to Matchroom for more money.
And that was the play, Leo. That was always the play. Matchroom wanted to disrupt the market by injecting a lot of money. They were willing to overpay for fights because they were attempting to acquire foreign talent. So that was, to your point, that was always the play that, you know what we're going to do? We're going to fuck it up for everybody. We're going to come out here. We're going to offer all this fucking money. We're going to give Jesse... We're going to give Mikey Garcia $7 million for a Jesse Vargas fight. We're going to offer bum-ass Charlo $7 million for an Andre fight. The whole goddamn fight ain't worth $7 million, but we got that for you if you cross over. And these bozos didn't take the money. You could have took that money and ran. Go fight Andre, one-off fight, and get up out of there. Nah, you didn't want to do that. Same with Davis. $8 million for a Tevin Farmer fight, and you didn't take it. Why? Farmer ain't no knockout artist. You probably would have won that fight.
Yeah, Matchroom was like when Alpo moved to DC.
Offering him what, Jules? 5 times what he's. There's still 5 times what he's ever made now. Because Leo Santa Cruz got paid more than Davis for that fight.
That's I anticipate that what Davis probably walked away with from the Leo Santa Cruz fight. I don't think it was 8. I think it was 5, maybe 4, maybe 5. Your upfront purse, that's recorded. They said it was 1. Leo got 1.5. Off the upside, if there was an upside, because the operational costs for that fight were low. You could tell by the guarantees. Nobody was guaranteed nothing crazy. No 10 million, no 15 million. The guarantees were low. So if the pay-per-view sold, let's say 170, fuck the 225 because that's exaggerated. Let's say it did 170. Now there's a profit margin in there. And out of that, once the cable and satellite gets its 30 or 40%, right? And whatever's left over, and it all gets split up. I'd wager Davis probably got between 4 and 5.
And then every fight since then, Jules, has been less money to split up.
Exactly. Where you could have made 8 for you. 8 for you. No, don't worry about none of that. We got 8 for you to fight Tevin Farmer. And you let them talk. And you let them talk you out of that. And these is the guys that want to, the business. You don't know. You need to mind your business because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Exactly.
And the other thing, like that $5 million, Haney taking a $5 million pay cut had me dying.
Bro, I asked him outright, like, yo, this the wild shit. You trying to tell me this, and I'm like, well, who's your source? Where did you hear that from? And that gotta be like a whole thing. Like, bro, if you gonna say something, you know what I do. You see what I do on this channel. If I read something or I hear something, I cite my fucking sources. That is basic college shit, all right? Otherwise, it's plagiarism or whatever. But it's basic shit. If you heard that and you can't tell me where you heard that, why not? If you can't tell me where you heard it, then why the fuck you want me to look at it?
It's nothing but hearsay.
It's childish shit. It's childish.
I will say this though, for all Uncle Bob shit, you know, he's an unreal fuck. He'll reach across the aisle a little bit more if he has to. Like, we're getting the Elisa fight with that, and Eddie's like, okay, Bob, I'm gonna give you this. You gotta throw me a bone for this later.
Yeah, but look, this is the bartering system. That's what I said a while ago, that what they need to do is a bartering system. Look at a couple of fights that the value is comparable, or at least in the same neighborhood, and barter. Give me this, and I'll give you that. And barter, so long as the fights are of equal value, because obviously if one fight is a big fight and one fight isn't, well, then you can't use one as leverage over the other. They're not of equal value. But if the value is comparable, you say, look, I'll send you Alicia if you send me Jose, and let's work, let's do that. And that works, because what you're doing, isolating yourselves from each other, it's hurting the sport. It's hurting y'all as individuals, but it's also hurting the sport. So barter. Look at two fights. We're like, okay, well, this fight is probably worth X, and this fight is probably worth Y. Comparable value. So let's swap. I'll give you this. I'll let you put that fight on. You let me put this fight on, and we'll work like that. That works.
And it goes back to what you've been saying ad nauseum, Jules. They just don't like that. Eddie's coming in young, fresh, and he's gonna be there longer than them.
Yeah.
And he wants to.
They don't want. They don't want to be upstaged by him.
I give Eddie shit when he deserves shit, but he's doing the best to try to give everybody the fights they want to see. Eddie's trying to put on a couple cards a month to grow the sport.
Well, more importantly, because we've already had all those discussions. This is what's not being said, but what's also at the root of a lot of the debates, right? These guys want PBC to be something that it's not. That's why you're arguing the way you're arguing, as if you have shares in the PBC. You don't. Matchroom could have put on Davis versus Haney. You didn't want to see it bad enough. That's the truth. You only want to see it if PBC is doing it. If Matchroom wants to do it, you literally start arguing against Matchroom. Why? Why? You a boxing fan. Don't you want to see a boxing match? It shouldn't matter to you. That shouldn't matter to you. So when I look at that situation and I address the problem is that Haney was being paid over market value by Matchroom. So that creates a risky situation for Mayweather Promotions. That's what that is, right? Okay, well, it's not risky for Matchroom, so let them do the fight. What's the problem? That's always the issue.
Yeah. Mayweather is more of a management company than promotional company.
Like if you say that, if you make an argument, for example, okay, Demetrius is not a marquee guy and we don't want to pay him to come over here. Awesome. You don't have to. They're willing to pay. Make the fight. That's the part of the argument that never gets said. And that's the part of the argument they don't have a rebuttal to that. They look, dog, if they didn't want to pay for it because they felt that they'd lose money doing it, well, they were willing to take the risks. Matchroom was willing to take the risk. DAZN was for Andre versus Charlo, for Davis versus Farmer, for Davis versus Haney. They were willing to take the risk.
And then that's your argument saying, oh, well, they got to get the biggest bag they can.
Right? You could have got the biggest bag.
Random question, Jules. Do you know if that fight had a distributor overseas, Tank and Rolly?
I don't think so. I think it was on. No, wait a minute. I did hear who was showing that shit. I think it was free.
It was Sky, though, wasn't it? Or one of the big.
No. It wasn't Sky. They don't have a broadcast partner. PBC doesn't have a foreign broadcast.
I thought it was ESPN Plus or something.
No, wasn't it PBC on YouTube? Wasn't it PBC on YouTube that showed that fight for the people in the UK?
Yes, it was.
And so that's my point. How does the cash cow not have a foreign TV deal?
Well, this is like the other thing is look, like I don't like coming at people. As well, I do it all the time, to be honest. But
you don't like it, but
I do.
Well, you do it with facts.
I do it, but it's like if you don't have the capacity. For example, you're telling me that he's a cash cow, right? But what cash cow have you ever heard of that cannot finance a fight off their own name? What cash cow? Floyd could finance fights off his own name. Canelo here today. He gave Caleb Plant $10 million because that $10 million, if Canelo ain't in it, there ain't $10 million to give Caleb Plant. So that's Canelo giving you that. All right. Take Canelo out of it. You back to being a $1, maybe a $2 million fighter. You put Canelo in it, now you could get 10, right? Now, if Davis is a cash cow, moo cow, right? Why is your promoter saying, we're not going to give Devin that money? What cash cow you ever heard talking like that? We're not going to give you that. I got to pay you what you weigh. I got to pay you. You can't pay him what is needed to do the fight. That's what you're saying.
And who was the man that said the same thing about Crawford over there, Jules? That we can't pay him?
Tim Smith, VP of Communications at the PBC. Tim Smith. All right, and it's all look, in a nutshell, these guys act like the PBC is something that it ain't. It's just a boxing outfit. Once you understand that, everything else becomes clearer. It's just a boxing outfit. And what you've really been arguing is, oh, well, unless the PBC does it, I don't want to see it. Because that's what you're telling me. Eddie Ben made offers for these guys to cross over there because they could afford to pay Davis and Devin. They could have afforded to pay both of them, but it's like, nobody wanted to cross the street.
It's funny. It's really like on the Wolf of Wall Street. PBC is really one of those penny stocks that Jordan Belfort was selling, and these motherfuckers bought it like it's Apple.
Basics. So this is not a complex matter. You can either foot the bill or you can't. Now, if you can't, send him across the street. That's what Bob did, ain't it?
Yeah.
They offered Jose 4 M's. Listen, Jose, we don't got 4 M's for you over here, bro. We don't have that. So go over there and get that money.
Bob's like, I want my 800,000, and you can't be mad at it. That's smart business.
Like, yeah, but like it's so much. The reason it's difficult to have that conversation is because they attach all this shit that don't got fuck all to do with boxing. The cult, like, bro, I don't care about none of that shit you talking about. I'm here to talk boxing, right? All right, so in the realm of boxing, what Ella B is telling y'all is we ain't giving Devin that bread. But you know who can give Devin that bread and Javante that bread? The guy from fucking UK. So go over there. It's not complicated, and it never was.
Is that a real thing in boxing? Like this idea where like fans, like they're like fans of promoters now, where like promoters are like fighters.
That's
is
really
that
what it is. Y'all didn't hear what to do when the money is there. The money been there. The money was already there. You just didn't like where the money was coming from, as if it affects you. Showtime's best interest. You know what Showtime wants? They want to gank you. If they would have did that fight back then, right, when they first made the offer, we would have seen that at what, a $20 subscription. But you want Showtime to charge you $80 because you're such a business guy, right? You're such a fucking business guy. You realize that that's what Showtime wants. That's their stake in it. Either we do it where we can benefit from the $80 price point, or it don't happen. Period. That's their stance. And that's what you're arguing in favor of. Them charging you more money. That's what you've been arguing. Charlo could have went over there and fought Andre, and it wouldn't have costed you more than, at that time, $9.99, because that was the original price point. $9.99 for a monthly subscription. If he would have went over there then, no $80 cover chart, no $80 price point. You just get to see that as part of your subscription. And you fucking bozos, you rather watch Charlo versus Deddy Vianchenko.
Yeah, they'd rather get charged higher money too. It's ridiculous.
It's like
they don't mind being juked.
And even with Canelo on the zone, they're like, well, it's pay-per-view now. I'm like, I'm a subscriber. They're giving me discounts on pay-per-view, unlike Showtime.
Well, more importantly, they acting like it wasn't going to be on pay-per-view if Canelo stayed on Showtime. It was going to be a pay-per-view either way, bro. It's going to be a pay-per-view either way.
Yeah.
That's what we had.
I want to say something really quick. I don't get mad really easily, but this shit, I see a lot of comments after the fights about the songs and the transmission of the song.
Mm-hmm.
The gets laggy, that is not the best for live events. No, you fucking idiot. It's not the song, it's your fucking internet connection.
Oh, yeah.
Leo coming in hot. Jules,
that's the truth.
We never get Leo cussing like
that. I don't have issues with my shit. I'm like, when I be seeing people saying that, I'm like, yo, you must just be saying that shit to talk shit. Because I'm like, I don't be having issues with my shit. Laggy? What you watching shit on a Fire Stick? Right. You must be. I'm like, my shit don't be laggy. What you talking about?
Yeah.
Maybe your shit laggy because you got some bum ass internet. I don't know. But the shit don't look, in a nutshell, shit don't make sense. I'm old and I'm going to sleep.
No, he's not. He's going to go touch some ass first.
Probably.
All right, y'all. Have a good night.
Everybody say bye to the Quacker.
Jules, thanks for having me on, brother. Have a good night.
Right.
Have a good night, y'all.
Leo, Drew, everybody, have a good night, man.